Hello happy souls, welcome back to my channel. This is Charlotte with Happy Twins 1111 and today we are asking you and them what is really going on in this connection. This is a reading in which we dig deep and we look at both the energies of you and your person. How are each of you showing up in the connection? How are you feeling about one another and thinking about one another? And more importantly, where are things shifting to? What's next? And how can you move forward with this relationship for your highest good? We're going to get all the nitty gritty details. All you need to do is choose a pile. There are 4 to choose from today. In pile number 1, you've got the English fluorite. And for this pile, we will be using the Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot. Absolutely beautiful deck. Pile number 2, we've got the Lepidolite point. And for this pile, we will be using the Starchild Tarot. And for pile number 3, you've got the Sputnik Aragonite. Such a cool stone. And for this pile, we will be using the Starseeker Tarot. And finally, in pile number 4, we've got the double terminated fluorite. I love fluorite so much, such a flowy energy. And for that one, we will be using the deck of Celestials. Now, take your time choosing a pile. As always, there's no right or wrong way to do that. You can just see which one you're drawn to the most, see which crystal you like the most, or pause the video and douse over them if that feels right for you to do. I like to look at the timestamps and see what numbers are there. But as I said, just see which one you're drawn to the most. There may be messages in more than one pile for you. So if you find that you're torn between 2, it's perhaps best just to watch them both and see what's coming up for you there. Remember, these are general readings, so take what resonates, leave what doesn't. All you need to do now is find the timestamp for your pile. That's in the description box below. It will take you straight to your reading and I will see you there. Hello pile 1, welcome to your reading. You have chosen the English fluorite, the Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot, and today we're asking you and them what is really going on in this connection. We're going to get all the answers for you. We're going to dig really deep. This is the reading in which we look at both of your energies and how those energies connect in the middle. You know, what are you each bringing into the equation and what does that add up to? And so we're looking at current energies that you're both introducing. We're looking at thoughts and feelings that you're both bringing in. And of course, we're looking at where things are moving towards and bringing forward all of that rich guidance. And we have oracle decks to use today. I've got the charm bowl out and look how big it is. I'm so excited to use this. I've got lots of new charms. So there will be an extended reading as usual. And if you hear a little clattering in the background, I've got my puppy in here today and she's tip-tapping around on my hard floor with her claws. So, you know, I think it's good luck anyway. But if you hear that, you know what it is. My old boy died in January and my new puppy is, she's 9 months old now. So she's getting pretty big. Here she comes. You can hear that tippy-tap, tippy-tap. Okay, so let's give these a shuffle. And whilst we are shuffling, this is a really great opportunity for you to just take a nice, long, deep breath. Set the intention that you are ready and willing to receive the messages that you need the most. Hold the person you're inquiring about in mind. And it's a really good time as well to ask the universe for a sign. Remember, a sign just helps you. Look, that was tucked in there. Masculine. I'm going to put it back. I don't know why it was tucked in with the tarot cards. A sign is just to help you anchor faith. You know, when you ask for a sign and it comes up in your reading, it's just very validating and affirming. It shows you which messages you need to pay the most attention to, and it also offers you reassurance that the universe is listening. And a sign can be anything at all. Just trust whatever pops into your head. It could be an object, an animal, something from nature. There's really no right or wrong. Just allow yourself to, you know, pick 1 or 2 things and let's see what comes through for you. Now, this first deck that I'm shuffling now, this is for your energies. I'm just going to put this one over there. We'll read that in a moment. But I do actually use 3 decks for this reading. So for your person, I'm going to use this deck. This is the Naked Heart Tarot. Absolutely gorgeous. It's one of those that's been languishing on my shelf that I forgot about. I haven't used it in ages, but it's absolutely beautiful. So we're going to be using that deck for your person's energy. And for the energies that connect in the middle, we will use a 3rd deck. And I am going to be using this one. This is called Aunt Lily's Tarot deck. And I do shuffle all of these off screen, but I like to do it again on screen just so you can verify that it, you know, it has been done. Let's give them another shuffle. And then let's draw some cards, some oracle cards as well. Hopefully my puppy's going to behave herself. Her name is Kiara. I know that's not the most sophisticated name. It certainly wasn't a spiritual choice. Kiara is the name of Nala's daughter in The Lion King. And I have had both a Nala and a Simba in the past. But what's really interesting is my 4-year-old nephew can't say Kiara. He says Kiwawa. And Kiwawa has stuck. We all call her Kiwawa, and that has further been shortened to Wawa. And when I looked up what Wawa means, it's a magical tree. So there is actually a Wawa tree that's used for magic. And Wawa is also an indigenous Middle Eastern tribe that practices some mad form of spirit release therapy. So it actually seems very fitting. My nephew knew that she was meant to be Wawa. But her official name is Kiara, but we all call her Wawa. But yeah, it's funny how dog names work out, isn't it? Right, let's start with your energies first, pile 1. So what energies are you bringing to this connection right now, pile 1? How are you showing up? Okay, first card out is the Nymph of Wands. That's the Page. And put this one over here. Check it's in camera shot. Yes, it is. Then we've got the Death card. Lots of Scorpio energy there. And we've got the Queen of Wands in reverse. Now that's really interesting because we've got the Queen of Wands over here. We're going to read that card before we begin. But I thought it's interesting that that came up again for you. So clarifying, I beg your pardon, we're not clarifying. We're doing thoughts and feelings. 3 of Cups in reverse. The High Priestess in reverse. The 4 of Swords in reverse. And for what's shifting in this connection, okay, that wanted to turn over. That's the 4 of Wands. The 6 of Pentacles in reverse. And Reclamation. Now this is actually number 15, which is the Devil. No. Yeah, no, it is the Devil. Number 15. Reduces to 6. Okay. Right, let's get some cards for your person. So what energy is your person showing up with? We've got the 10 of Cups. We've got the Sun in reverse. And we've got Strength in reverse. So lots of Leo energy there. The Sun and Strength are both Leo cards. And how are they thinking and feeling about the connection? We've got the 8 of Swords, the 4 of Wands in reverse. That's really interesting because that showed up for you over here. And the 8 of Cups in reverse. And what's shifting in this connection? Where's it heading to for your person? The High Priestess. So that also came up in reverse for you. It's really interesting how we're seeing the cards mirror each other. Sky Father, that's the King of Swords. That's in reverse. And one more, the 7 of Wands. Okay, and for the connecting energies down the middle. Hope you like my crystal grid today, by the way. I have actually just launched a new service for crystal grid healing. Check it out on my website, but I love making these so much. The energy of them is so beautiful. Right, connecting energies for what you're bringing to the connection and how it adds up is King of Wands. That's more Leo energy. So that's very powerful. We have a lot of Leo happening there. Connecting energies for thoughts and feelings. We've got the 7 of Swords in reverse. And connecting energies for where things are shifting to. That's the 7 of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so we're going to start with the cards that are on the table, but we will get more as we go. But I want to start with this Queen of Wands. Now, remember, the Queen of Wands is the Queen of Fire. She's the Queen of Spirit. She is the Queen who I want to say stands in her own power and doesn't rely on or lean into her king for that vital sustenance of power. She has so much of her own. In fact, if you look at all the queens in the traditional Rider-Waite deck, the Queen of Wands is the only one that faces forward like a king. All the other queens are tilted and turned towards their king, their counterpart. But the Queen of Wands is a magical, powerful leader all of her own. You can see here that the chakra colours are emphasised, in particular the stimulation of her third eye chakra. There is a cheetah or leopard which represents the swift, fast moving spiritual energy that she is in possession of. There's 3 pyramids, the number of stability and creation, which emphasise her power to manifest in very meaningful and secure ways. The Queen of Wands is all about bringing in the wisdom of the ages and using it as a driving force to inspire the next aspect of your journey. She is both Pisces and Aries energy, so she has all of that power of intuition and emotional depth of the High Priestess, but she's also using all of that oomph and drive from the Aries energy, the first sign in the zodiac, with all of that get up and go and power to drive things forward. So this is undoubtedly a very important connection that you're experiencing with this person. You are learning deep lessons at a profound spiritual level, and you are being called to action. You're being called to step into your power, to recognize that you are independently sufficient, that you don't need another person's energy to empower you and help you feel good. And there's something very twin flamey about this connection, but for some of you it may be soulmates, or perhaps it's just, you know, a spiritual aspect of your own ascension journey that is involving this person. Whichever way you look at it, there are some deep energies here in terms of what you are committing to the connection, what energies you are actually bringing in. To start with, the Page of Wands and the Queen of Wands in reverse with death for you, part 1, does indicate that at the moment you are leaning into your spiritual journey and trying to step into this power. There has definitely been a profound awakening, but the Page of Wands is immature. It's new energy, it's fresh. It doesn't know how to wield that wand with power and force. And so we really need to, you know, recognize that at those beginning stages, you are vulnerable to being pulled in the wrong directions, because whereas the Queen of Wands is her own power force, she doesn't need the king. The Page of Wands is the child in that equation, the young, impressionable, more easily influenced, more impulsive energy. It has all of that spiritual depth without the maturity or the knowledge or the wisdom having been truly activated and grown within. And so it definitely feels like, if you are not new to this relationship and the spiritual aspects of it, that you are missing a trick when it comes to actually recognizing what the spiritual undercurrent means for you. Certainly your energies are transformative. Death can also be literal in terms of endings. So you may have closed yourself off from this connection. And actually with the Queen of Wands in reverse, that's this energy, but ill-dignified or blocked. It's very seductive. And sometimes it's using its powers in ways which aren't always moral or ethical. And that's not deliberate. You know, that's not to say you're a dishonest person or you're sneaky or you're manipulative, but you're being called to recognize that perhaps the way you are introducing your energy in this connection isn't as authentic or spiritually aligned as you are leading yourself to believe. The Queen of Wands in reverse likes to make their person jealous. They like to swan about, embodying all of their egoic power to help themselves feel good, but they're not necessarily aligned with the ultimate truth of their energy. And so it definitely feels like you have, okay, so I'm getting a bit of a download around this now. What I'm hearing is that you have invested so much in this connection of yourself that you have pulled back and moved into play mode, that you've crossed a threshold with this person in terms of reaching the end of your rope, and now you are back into play mode, dating, enjoying yourself, trying to let your hair down and be more playful and less serious. I do think at a deep subconscious level there is some awareness that this is triggering for this person, and that it makes you feel good, and you've got to forgive yourself for that. You wouldn't be the first person that thought, You know, how does that feel? Have a taste of your own medicine. It's a perfectly natural energy, but it is one that you need to get a grasp on, to get a grip on, because it is out of alignment with your spiritual truth and your balance. For your person, 10 of Cups is a beautiful energy that's showing up here. But what I'm hearing is that your person, for all of their apparent commitment to you, is in another relationship. You know, they are seeing, in fact, not seeing someone else, they're seeing you, but they are committed elsewhere. They may even have a family. And so I feel like you finally said, no, I'm not doing that anymore. You know, I'm not going to be the crux of this connection that you have. I'm not going to be the comfort zone that you can create within that relationship. You're either with me or you're with them. I'm not hanging around anymore to see if you actually make a move towards leaving and, you know, committing fully to me. So definitely a love triangle happening here. And I think with this person, they love you very, very much, but I want to say they don't have the balls to leave at this stage. And with the Sun and Strength in reverse, they are really struggling with your absence, and perhaps also this intuitive recognition, because they are very intuitive and very empathic, this intuitive recognition that you are moving on and you're moving on without them. But you know, that's their decision, and you mustn't allow yourself to feel guilt tripped by this idea that they are somehow hurt that you're looking elsewhere for that fun and that good time and that connection, because they weren't willing to show up for you, but they are struggling with that. The Sun in reverse is a pretty depressive energy. You know, this is someone who's very, very sad, and I feel like you held so much space for this person, and they almost behaved like they were the one that was, you know, facing the hurt. And not to undermine how challenging it is to be in a relationship that makes you unhappy and to be in love with somebody else, because that is really awful. But you know, we have to remember in this equation that there are two other people, you and their current partner, that are being betrayed. You know, they're the ones that are truly being hurt and suffering. And I do think that your person doesn't always have a broad perspective on that. They can be emotionally very self-absorbed, and whilst they're very empathic and can demonstrate a lot of sensitivity and compassion, they're often so overwhelmed by their own emotions that they don't recognize the needs of others around them. And so Strength in reverse is also about wrestling with ego. Leo energy, when it's ill-dignified or distorted or blocked, is all about not being able to access that purity of heart, that divinity within ourselves, to tame the inner beast, which leans into fear and keeps us off track or unaligned from our truth. And so I definitely feel like your person is struggling to step into their own power. They're not able to embody all of that potential and to choose or make decisions in accordance with their own divine principles. They operate from the perspective of stress, fear, anxiety, guilt, shame, and you know, it's pretty messy. What's really beautiful here is about how these energies actually connect. And for the King of Wands to show up here as a mutual energy or combined energy is actually really powerful. And look at how it's looking towards the left side of this reading. You know, so all that Leo energy over here, and it's literally, you know, very focused on you, on the person over here. So again, there's a very obsessive quality about this. I don't doubt that your person loves you very much and is hurting very much that you've decided to move on. But they are definitely, you know, I think in the energy of wanting to embody their power. They're looking at you for leadership because they don't know how to do it themselves. But it feels like you have cut them off and are busy playing and enjoying yourself in other areas, and that maybe you've leaned out of the spiritual nature of your connection to avoid the heaviness of what's going on here, which again, you must forgive yourself for. It's a completely natural reaction. Now, when we move to thoughts and feelings, what we're seeing here with the Three of Cups in reverse is again that emphasis on, I don't want to be around you. You know, I'm not up for socializing or trying to be friendly. You know, I need that complete distance, that disconnect, because you're not showing up and giving me what I want. We can see with the High Priestess in reverse as well, that you have very much chosen to cut them off at an intuitive level. Previously, you had quite a strong, almost telepathic connection between you, and now you probably find that that's dissipated or subdued, but it's a subconscious desire to retreat or to retract your energy, to pull back into yourself. And also with the Four of Swords in reverse, that there's some avoidance of the healing of this, and also a frustration of recognizing the avoidance to heal within them. You have literally lost patience. So, you know, there's quite an irritated energy over here. It's a kind of stuff you, I've had enough, you're not taking action, you're not healing, you're not doing the things you need to do to honor me and our connection, so you're on your own with that. And we can see here that for feelings with the Eight of Swords, how trapped and confused your person feels about this. The Eight of Swords is about limitations of the mind. It's about how we convince ourselves there is no way out, even though those barriers don't really exist. They only exist in our fears, in our anxieties, and our what-ifing. And I really think your person feels trapped, but it's really as simple as telling their current partner, I'm out. You know, this isn't working for me anymore. They actually have all the power to navigate their way out of their current circumstances that they're finding so painful, but they're not seeing that. And they're not seeing why you need to be the way that you're being within this. You know, I don't want to say they're resentful or bitter about it, but they are certainly wrapping themselves up in untruths. For example, they have likely deduced that you no longer care, that you're moving on, that you don't want to be with them anymore, that you're forgetting about them. Now, this isn't true. You're doing your utmost to try and do that, but the reality is that it's simply too painful to look in their direction. You've not necessarily resolved that pain. You've not necessarily let go of the love, but what we are seeing is that you are no longer showing up for it. And so without any communication or indication of how you're really feeling, this person's making up those stories for themselves, and they're not pretty stories. With the Four of Wands in reverse, and remember, we've got it in the upright position here, it really feels like as well they honestly think this is over, you know, that there's never going to be a union, that there's never going to be any coming back from this. And so they are definitely, and you know, this is in this row of depression, even with that King of Swords down there and what's shifting, which is further distorted thinking. And so you can see how they've lost faith in the potential for this connection through the disconnect that's occurred. The Eight of Cups in reverse is also, oh, this is actually quite sweet. I feel like they're worried that they won't be there to comfort you. And so there's definitely been some mental or emotional instability in your past that they have kind of held you through or supported you through. And there's a real strong energy here now of not knowing how you are and worrying about that. And this fear that you can't carry yourself, which I don't think is entirely true. And actually it's a little bit of a disempowering perspective of you, because you are Queen of Wands. Indeed, you may be imbalanced in that energy right now, but you have all that potential for self-sustenance and power. And I really don't think this person recognizes quite how powerful you are, because you dared to be vulnerable enough to show them how much you were struggling. And I think it made them feel better about themselves to perceive themselves as this savior or hero that you desperately needed in order that you could be stable and feel good. But it is quite sweet that they're worried about you, and that they, you know, they're desperately concerned that in their absence or the lack of communication, you know, how are you doing? How are you managing without them? How are you getting on? The connecting energies here in the middle with the Seven of Swords in reverse in terms of feelings is really interesting, because it suggests that whilst certainly you trust one another at the moment, Well, first of all, let's clarify what Seven of Swords means in the upright position. It's about strategy. The Seven of Swords upright is all about manipulation, strategy, betrayal, deceit. But if you look in this card, it's quite different to the traditional images. In fact, what we see is two swords driven into the ground, and then this lady is walking off carrying 5 swords with her. Now, 5 swords on their own represent conflict and confrontation. 2 swords on their own represent indecision. So as feelings in the reverse position, you can see that both counterparts felt the best thing to do was to walk away because no decisions were being made, and they didn't want to get to a point of conflict or confrontation where more people were getting hurt. So, you know, this does make sense. Neither one of you wants to be the bad guy. Neither one of you wants to end up losing control and creating more drama than already existed. And so I do think you kind of see eye to eye on this, and that even though it's painful for each of you, you are kind of supporting overall the separation that's occurred between you. And I just want to say that, you know, there is such a heaviness to your person's energy, whereas yours, your heaviness is buried. It's almost like it's beneath the surface of your awareness, where it's easier for you to actually cope with it. And I want to say as well that the irritation is, you know, anger or irritability is a much higher vibration than depression or misery or sadness or grief. And so that's as far as you're allowing yourself to lean into your shadow aspect right now to release the pain that's present, which is why irritability is so strong. And I think you do get really irritated when you think about it. So, you know, the message or guidance for you there is to allow yourself to yield to the deeper layers of your emotion. You're going to get a much more profound release there. And you're going to give yourself access to the light. Because when we narrow our ability to feel, when we avoid our own feelings, we close ourselves off at both ends of the spectrum. So if the light's this side and the dark's this side, and there's all this dark ick, this depression and grief that you don't want to connect with, by shrinking away from it, you also reduce your ability to reach into the light. And I think this is what's thrust you back into a page of Wands energy and distorted that Queen of Wands power. And again, we see it here with that High Priestess in reverse. So the goal for you here is to allow yourself to feel. And that's going to allow you to move forward with a lot more dignity and also a lot more expansion and growth. In terms of what's shifting, we've got the Four of Wands here. Now that's really beautiful. That's a union energy, but I can't help think that it's not necessarily a union of, you know, physical commitment, mainly because there's just one hand here. You can see that there's just this one hand rising out of this beautiful lush meadow. The 1111's represented, and so what I'm feeling is this is the beginning of a union transit with you, but I can't shake the idea that it's perhaps not actually with this person, or it's not meant to be a union with them at this stage. This is a union of self. It's about stepping back into that Queen of Wands power. You know, when we turn all of these cards on your side upright, we have a very different trajectory. And this is what you need to pay attention to. A lot of people get antsy about reverse cards in tarot. My friends, they're just showing you where the blockages are. You know, if you are the sort of person that gets triggered when you see a reversal, my suggestion to you would be that you're probably very triggered by your own shadow aspects and consequently avoid them. And that's just going to limit your growth. Life isn't all a straight line. You know, there are obstacles, there are barriers, there are blockages. If you feel triggered by the idea of addressing them, then that's an indicator that you're avoiding other shadow aspects and healing potential, that you only want to focus on the positive. Well, we are both yin and yang, light and dark. We can't be one and not the other. And to try and focus only on the positive inhibits you from doing the vital learning and growth that will actually get you to where you need to be. And so what you have to consider is, the real question is, how do I bring these energies back into balance? Now, let's start with what's shifting, because the Six of Pentacles in reverse, the Six of Pentacles is about reciprocity. And so not all the energies need to be brought into balance, because what we have to understand about this is it's about equal give and take. And if your person isn't showing up, you know, in a committed way, that cannot exist. you know, equal give and take cannot exist. You only have power over what you're offering and what you're bringing to the table. It doesn't matter what you demand of the other person. You can't literally force them to show up and reciprocate in equal measure. And so, you know, this is about bringing your own awareness of it into balance and recognizing the truth of what's available to you, which I think is what you have already done. However, it's followed by the devil, which is unhealthy attachment, obsession, and addiction. So you have to pay careful attention here, because when a union transit opens up, the intense magnetism that becomes apparent there can often cause us to abandon all the awareness and learning that we've done about that balanced flow of energy that needs to exist between two people. And so you could find yourself falling back into old patterns and renegading on your initial decision to end things because this wasn't worthy of your time. And so I think you're going to be vulnerable as you shift into a union transit with this person, because they, you know, we're seeing they are definitely not ready to commit in the way that you need and want them to. So, you know, you can only be responsible for unblocking this partially. And as I said, devil energy is distorted love. It's conditional love. It's the lovers turned upside down. Both of them are number 6 cards. 6 is the number of love. But with the devil energy, you know, you're being asked to look at yourself and recognize that you can address the imbalance from within. In fact, and I don't know if it will work with this card, and I don't have a mirror with me to mention this, but in the original Rider-Waite, one of the things that is really interesting is when you lay the cards out in a certain fashion and it creates the Saturn seal shape in the middle, when you hold a mirror down the center of that diamond that's created, it cuts through the center of the devil. And you can see here that only one hand is raised to the heavens, but when there is a mirror there, both hands are, which completes, you know, the, I can't do it with my fingers, but you know what I mean, the waft thing. And it makes the devil whole or complete. And so, you know, the devil, even though we may reject that energy within ourselves and think, I don't want to be in that energy, it's reminding you that by being in that energy actually allows you to fulfill your potential to move out of it. You have to acknowledge and allow this about yourself. And I think this trying to avoid your shadows, getting triggered by reversals or blockages, and this desire to avoid them is actually holding you back. So you need to lean in to the addiction and obsession you have with this person rather than avoiding it. That doesn't mean you need to lean into them. It's about leaning into how you feel about the connection and addressing it at the root cause. Otherwise, it's never going to get brought into balance, at least on your side of the fence. For your person with the High Priestess and the King of Swords and the 7 of Wands, you know, we still see a reasonable degree of resistance here. There's a deeply intuitive connection that you are rejecting. And so they are definitely, in the absence of potential real communication, going to try and to lean into you at an astral level. This means they may be more inclined to invade your dreams and your thoughts and your meditations and your healings. But the 7 of Wands is all about having barriers and perhaps even them developing a bit of anger and frustration that, you know, interpreting this idea, well, if you bailed on me, you can't care that much. And it really irritates me. I'm going to be honest with you. It irritates me to share that because it's such an entitled perspective when someone's in a relationship to still expect the totality of your adoration. But alas, that's the distorted perspective that they are going to be holding, you know. Okay, different hit there as well. So this is also anger towards themselves, anger towards the situation. This is them moving into a stage of recognizing and aligning with anger. They've been very passive. You know, there's something very subdued about their energy, and it actually feels like something's starting to crack open, allowing them to connect with the frustration which they've ignored or not allowed themselves to express. The 7 of Pentacles in reverse does show that there's no movement in the actual connection. So whilst there's movement within the individuals, the Seven of Pentacles shows us that nothing is growing, nothing is coming to fruition, and that there's an overall energy of impatience that thwarts the progress of the overall connection. And so you need to pay attention to that. And you're being asked to remember that there's always a divine flow and a divine plan. You have free will. You don't have to wait for that. But generally speaking, if you just surrender, that means you are going to flow with your highest potential timeline. When you're trying to control it yourself and go against the flow or current of the divine plan or divine time, then you are potentially just moving yourself further away from where you want to be. So you have that freedom, but it doesn't necessarily always serve you. And as I said, the Seven of Pentacles in reverse is, you know, a lack of growth, a lack of patience, a lack of material recognition for what the divine plan is trying to point you towards. Now, coming back from a guidance perspective in terms of how you would unblock some of these energies, you know, I think for thoughts and feelings, you don't necessarily need to. You know, I think your frustration there is valid. There's nothing you can do about how they're performing. And, you know, this frustration around feeling that they're not doing the work they need to do is completely valid, but I would put it on you. You know, how does that mirror the work that you are not doing yourself? You know, can you turn that frustration inwards and focus on you instead of, and what you're not doing, instead of focusing on what they're not doing? And to bring the Queen of Wands back into balance, you know, really, I think it's getting serious about your spiritual journey again, committing time to that daily and recognizing your power to manifest what you need and want. You know, to give yourself the love that you need. There is a little bit of victim consciousness here, that kind of damsel in distress energy that's waiting for their knight in shining armor to come and make life better. And I do think that this is a wound you've been healing for a long time. But, you know, the universe is saying you are ready to release that. You know, you are ready to embody your highest potential and the power available to you. So there definitely needs to be a focus on revisiting that. Let's get some guidance cards for both of you. We're going to use some oracle cards and charms. Now, this is the Sacred Light Oracle. We're going to get some animal cards as well, I think. So let's get some of these for each side. Okay. So we've got Golden Light Ray. Beautiful energy. And Temple of Mary. And for your person, we've got Galactic Vibration and Violet Fire. Okay, and from the animal deck, I forget what animal deck this is. I can't remember the name of it. I'm pretty sure it's by the same creators of the Mystic Monday deck, but weirdly I can't find the box for it, which is why I don't know what deck it is. Anyway, okay. So Ladybug has turned itself over. I'm going to keep that. I'm going to put it over here with our Queen of Wands. Perhaps that was a sign for some of you. Right, so we've got Bat and Peacock. And for your person, we've got Panther. And we have Zebra. Okay, and from the Goddess Power deck, we've got Sophia, Divine Wisdom. And from the Gods and Titans deck, in fact, let me just move these up a bit so we've got more room. Can you still see those? Yeah. From the Gods and Titans deck, Shiva, the Destroyer. And what am I going to get next? Let's get some of these. This is the Universal Oracle cards. This is such a cute little deck. We've got Patience and Lovers. And for your person, we have got Healing and dreams. And we're going to get the oracle, not the oracle, sorry, the charms. I'm going to put the charms in the middle for guidance for the overall energy of the connection. So many of them. So I'm just going to reach in, grab a few, see what's coming up here. Okay, so we have got save yourself. Yes, Queen. I love that one. 3% human, 97% stress. The numbers 444. Dusk until dawn. Lost. And the party animal sloth. Okay. So guidance for pile 1 and you specifically. Number 16, this is Tower energy. This reminds you that what comes down ultimately serves you, that sometimes we have to clear the debris of the past in order that we can rebuild again anew in a way that serves us better. It says here, love, laughter, receiving and giving gifts, and passionate projects. And so you're really being asked to clear space in your life for doing more of what you love, and recognize that when we are just investing in anything that's joyful, we are creating the building blocks of our own stability. Happiness is such a healing tonic. It is the perfect medicine. So you're being asked to lean in to whatever feels good. And I do think you are in that playful energy, but the moment you are directing that impulse for joy and playfulness into other connections and relationships, like I said, I feel like you have been, having fun on the dating scene, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not how the energy was intended to be used, because that's just allowing it to align with that codependent streak in you that needs that vital loving sustenance from someone else. Whereas what the universe is guiding you towards is allowing you to find that playful joy within you, and on things that you have the power to manage and move forward. You can't have power over another person. It's never going to be a stable source of joy. So you have to find it within you. So this is about projects for you, independent, passionate work that you can really lean into and throw yourself into. Such a joyful energy here. But when you are stimulated and inspired in that way, you emanate this beautiful light, this golden light ray, which heals and inspires everyone around you. So I'm hearing the more you invest in joy and playfulness for yourself, the more you are going to inspire that in others. And I think this will have a particularly huge impact on whatever work it is that you're doing at the moment, because that light emanates in everything you do. The people around you are going to feel it and be inspired by it. Temple of Mary, number 31. So that's Empress and Magician energy combined to create Emperor or masculine energy. And I'm remembering that masculine card that flew out when I was shuffling your tarot deck. And it says here, emotional expression, playful innocence, and exploitation. So again, playfulness is emphasized. Remember, we already talked about emotional expression, about allowing yourself to stretch it within your emotional body and receive all of the feelings that are there waiting to be released, and to trust that you can do this, because once you stretch, you can exploit and harness that energy in very meaningful ways. So you have the power of the Empress in that card, which is about creating from the heart space. You have the power of Magician, which is about creating in the physical world, and combined that creates the power of the Emperor, which is about leadership, stability, and foundation. So what I'm hearing here is that if you can lean into that playful, joyful, inspiring energy within yourself, it is going to help you manifest in your real world in a very real and impactful way. Bat energy reminds you to be more in tune with the subtle sounds and cues. Remember, it's emphasized here how the bat navigates by frequency and vibration rather than using its eyes in the way we would. And so it's really about tuning into that extra sensory perception and recognizing that you can always navigate better from the inner compass rather than relying on your physical senses, specifically the mind, which likes to think critically and rationally. This is about allowing your inner compass to guide you, and also being aware of how your ego can often derail you from that inner compass and true path, because sometimes it's looking for that validation outside of self rather than leaning into finding it within, which is what you're being encouraged to do. Divine wisdom with Sophia. This is such a beautiful energy, and this is mature energy. From all of that youthful playfulness that came through in the beginning, you are being reminded here that you have been alive for many, many lifetimes. You know, you are not new to this experience. And so when you lean into your Queen of Wands energy, your access to that spiritual source within you, you know, you are releasing all of the power and wisdom of those souls' experiences. Remember, 4 has come through here again, more of that masculine leadership energy, but it's combined with 8, that infinite cycle of life that allows us to tap into our own Akashic records and draw down from the heart strength that we've already learned through those many life experiences. I think you are so much more powerful than you give yourself credit for. You have such a big heart, and it feels like you've been navigating a phase in your life where for a number of years you felt so disempowered, and intellectually you know you are hot stuff. Intellectually you know that you have all of this beautiful spiritual power, but actually allowing yourself to embody it seems to have eluded you for so long, and you've been so dislocated and unstable. You know, this is about remembering that it doesn't necessarily, okay, so here's the limiting belief you're telling yourself. It takes time. It doesn't have to take time. You know, you can step into alignment at any point, and I'm hearing that you already have all the skills and the tools to do that. You can access that power whenever you stand in reverence and presence with it. It's just about giving yourself permission to draw it forward and breaking the cycle of looking outside of yourself for answers. We've got patience and lovers here as well. Divine timing, maturing and persistence, and divine counterpart chemistry and partnership. And as I said, I can't help but think there's more than one divine person out there for you. You may even already have options or be confused about who's a soulmate, who's a twin, what's going on. I just feel very strongly that this union transit that's coming in isn't necessarily connected to this person. I feel like, you know, they may have stepped in to support you on part of your journey, but for some of you, this person may not be your actual counterpart, your twin counterpart. They may be like a soulmate or catalyst or something else. Now remember, this is a general reading, so I can't accurately diagnose that for you from here. This is a suggestion for some of you, and so it may be worth digging into that and figuring that out for yourself. But certainly, you know, as far as the guidance for this is concerned, you know, I just feel like you're being reminded that you will eventually get what you want. You will get that everlasting love and that beautiful, soulful connection, but you just need to be patient. For your person, galactic vibration and violet fire is very powerful. We've got devil energy here with that number 15. And this is about personal conviction and raising your resilience. And so it definitely feels like your person is going to be navigating... Hold on, my dog is trying to drag my chair away. Can you leave that alone, please? Thank you. Leave it. Good girl. So, you know, it definitely feels like they are moving into an awakening, activation or ascension process. And violet fire, transmutation, detoxification, it says here psychic vision, and also constant distraction. So, you know, you've got to remember how it was for you when you woke up. And I don't know why, but I've only just realised that 444 is also masculine energy. That also was the card that flew out. Sorry, I got distracted by that there. So, you know, but 3 and 5 reduces to 9. It's hermit energy, Virgo energy. We're obviously in Virgo at the moment. You know, I really think that your person needs that space and separation, even though they're resisting it, because this is what's going to trigger their own awakening and awareness and allow them to move forward. Panther is about swift movement, and Zebra is about blending in. And I think this person is being reminded that they don't have to tell everyone about this spiritual experience. You know, it's allowed to be something that's just for them. But in terms of the destroyer and healing coming through as well, it just feels to me like the tower will be coming down for them too, and they need to focus on, it says shadow work and inner child work, messages in dreams and visitors. So you can see a lot of spiritual activity occurring for them here, and them, you know, feeling embarrassed or afraid of being watched or observed through this process. But you know, I think the guidance for them is just to allow it. Ladybug. I don't always interpret this card in the same ways, and I don't feel like it's a card that was meant to be read today. I think it was just a sign for some of you, but I definitely think in the way it's showing up today and the way it's crawling towards this, that you're just being reminded of the support that's available to you from the universe, that you need to focus on yourselves. So again, the retreat and separation serves you. Trust that you're on the right path. And I think for you, Par 1, this is a suggestion to lean into some of your, you know, queer friends, your pride friends as well, because I think they have some interesting insights, which is going to unlock some kind of learning for you. 3% human, 97% stress. I know that it can often feel like you're an alien when you're on the twin flame journey, and that it's really hard, or when you're on an ascension or spiritual journey and you just wish that you weren't sometimes, that you could go back to being normal and just having a normal relationship. But I want to reassure you that you won't always feel that way, and you will certainly look back on this connection at some point and recognize it as a gift and worthwhile. You know, dusk till dawn, I think I'm hearing this emphasizes how much your person is really thinking about you. And this is why this dreams, the astral stuff, all of this awakening and personal conviction that's arising in them is triggered by the awareness of you. You know, they do feel lost without you, and I think you're a little bit lost without them as well. But the goal is to find yourselves, save yourselves, not each other. And again, no matter how tired you feel, keep being playful, keep looking for ways to express joy and to find that divine spark of inspiration within yourself. I don't see that this person is going to be moving towards you anytime soon, and I don't see that you should allow that even if they did. This still needs to be about you embodying your power and them doing their healing. So I really hope this has helped. I'm going to take this over to the extended. I want to go deeper. I want to know more about this Ten of Cups energy and what's happening in their lives and that relationship. And I want to know more about what they actually are to you. I know it's very hard to diagnose that, but to get some clarity on what other relationships or soul connections exist in your field of awareness, because I think there's a more nuanced and complicated energy here. It feels like there is more than just the love triangle. You know, there could be other people, other soul partners involved in this. And I want to get some more practical guidance for you as well, in terms of how you can move forward and actually embody and activate and integrate the suggestions that have been made in the guidance here. So if you want to join me at the extended reading, you can find a link for that below. But thank you so much for joining me here. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing today. And a very special thanks to those of you that take the time to watch the adverts and commercials. That really makes the world of difference to my channel, and I appreciate it so much. I can't tell you, it's such a perfect energy exchange. You know, my time for the reading versus 60 seconds of your advert watching time, it just works so beautifully. So thank you so much for those of you that commit to doing that. Don't forget to check out my website. There is a new website coming soon with a ton of new stuff in it. I'm so excited for you to see my new branding. And also finally, the launch of my Oracle deck, which has been almost 2 years in the making. But it's going to be worth it. I'm so excited for it. You can find me at happysouls1111.com. You can book readings with me at the moment, twin flame connection checks, spirit release therapy, crystal grid healing. Come over and have a look. There's a ton of classes as well. I will see you there, and I will see you next time. Sending you lots of love, Pile 1. Bye. Hello, Pile 2. Welcome to your reading. You have chosen the Lepidolite Point and the Starchild Tarot. And today we are asking about you and them, you and your person, what's really happening in this connection. And more importantly, we're looking at the energies that each of you are introducing into the connection and how that combines in the middle, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and of course what's coming next and all of the guidance that you need to help you move forward. So I'm going to move this card over there. We'll read that later. I'm going to give these a shuffle. We actually use 3 decks for this reading. This deck that you've chosen will be to represent your energies. So I'm going to give this a shuffle. I do shuffle off screen, but I know you guys like to see me do it. And whilst I'm shuffling, that's a really good time for you to set the intention of who you're inquiring about, and of course that you are ready and willing to receive the messages that you need the most. You can also ask the universe for a sign at this point. A sign just helps you validate the messages that are coming through, gives the universe an opportunity to really emphasize which messages you need to pay attention to, and also helps to build faith that the universe has your back and it is listening. And a sign can be anything. It could be an animal, an object, a place, sequence of numbers, a name, something from nature. There's no right or wrong. Trust whatever pops into your head first. Right, now for your person, I'm using this deck. This is the Naked Heart Tarot. I'll show you the box. And we're going to give this one a shuffle as well. And for the connecting energies down the middle, we will use a 3rd deck. I hope you like my crystal grid today as well. I am loving crystal grids at the moment. I've recently reorganized my crystal grid collection, like all the little bits and pieces that I use to construct them in these trays so I can see them all at once. And it's kind of reignited my passion for this. I spend a lot of my time playing with these crystals and making new grids. So I've recently offered a crystal grid healing service. That's available now on my website if you fancy dipping in. I can sell some of the crystals I use. Obviously, most of them are from my personal collection. But if you wanted a crystal grid designed for you, I can make that happen as well. The healing is the construction of it. And they are constructed in line with sacred geometry, which are, it kind of opens up a portal through which those energies can manifest and be distributed. So it's a healing practice. You don't have to have the physical grid. I'm working on the same principle as like Native American Navajo sand paintings. Really magical stuff, but check that out on the website. Right, so the deck we are using down the center, this is Aunt Lily's tarot deck. Let's show you the box. That's the box, so cute. Give these a shuffle as well. It's such a hot day today. I apologize if there's any click clacking or whining in the background. My puppy is here and her little feet tip tapping around might contribute to the noise. I think she's having a nap at the moment, which is great. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to draw cards for you first. Part 1, we'll be using the oracle cards. We'll be using the charms as well, but let's draw tarot cards first. So first we're asking, what energies are you bringing to the connection, part 1? First card is the Queen of Swords in reverse. And the 2 of Pentacles in reverse. Now remember, don't worry about reversals. They just show us where blockages or distorted energy is. And the 7 of Wands in reverse. And how are you thinking and feeling about this connection, part 1? Okay, we've got the 10 of Pentacles. We've got the 5 of Pentacles. And we have the Ace of Pentacles. And what's shifting in this connection? What's coming next on your side of the fence? Right, we've got the Page of Cups in reverse. We've got 5 of Wands in reverse. And we have Awakening or Judgment as it's known traditionally. And for those of you looking for signs, there is a tiger over here. Okay, let's draw for your person. How are they showing up in the connection? What energies are they bringing? Okay, we've got the Devil. We've got the Knight of Wands in reverse. Fox energy there. And we've got the Magician in reverse. Okay, and what are their thoughts and feelings around you in the connection? Okay, we've got the Hanged Man with bat energy. We've got the Seven of Pentacles. And we've got the Four of Wands in reverse. And what's shifting for your person? We've got the Six of Cups in reverse with unicorn energy. We've got Judgment. So that came up for you as well in the same row. And we have the Fool in reverse, more unicorn energy. And let's get some cards for down the middle. So how are these energies connecting? For the energy that each of you are bringing, the connecting point is the World. And for thoughts and feelings, connecting energy is the Ace of Swords. And for what's shifting, the connecting energy is Death in reversed. More butterfly energy there. Similar colorways as well, which is interesting. Okay, now we will get more cards as we go and some charms, but let's start where we are. And I want to start with the card that you chose. This is the Page of Swords. Now, the Page of Swords is all about communication and messages, but it also specifically relates to the inner child aspect of our mental bodies. And what we can see here is there are a lot of shadow aspects dancing around, and that maybe you are looking at things through the perspective of rose-tinted glasses. So the Page of Swords refers to the level at which you're both communicating. So I'm going to assume this is a fairly new connection. This is someone you have met fairly recently, and you're not necessarily seeing things really clearly, which is perhaps why you're looking for a tarot reading for clarity. And so I definitely think that you're being called to action here as well, to recognize the shadow aspects that are interfering with the process within this connection too. Now, up here in terms of the energy you're bringing, for you, it starts with the Queen of Swords in reverse. And I have to tell you honestly that the Queen of Swords in reverse, I mean, she's more mature than the Page, so she definitely has the intellectual capacity to see things authentically and clearly. But when it's in reverse, it demonstrates a distortion in that perception. So it really emphasizes what we're saying about this card. And it's also a bit prickly, if I'm honest. It's a bit abrasive. And so you're definitely somewhat annoyed about this person. And with the Two of Pentacles in reverse, you haven't necessarily adjusted course in line with it. And what we're seeing the challenges here is boundaries. You know, you're not very good at setting boundaries. When you do set boundaries, they tend to be delivered with a very abrupt or demanding energy, and you're not necessarily upholding them. And so there's a big emphasis on this person respecting your boundaries. And we're definitely seeing a distorted player energy, by the way, on this side of the fence. But there's not an emphasis for you on recognizing that you are accountable for upholding those boundaries. So the pattern we're seeing here is you will put a boundary in place, they will disrespect it, and then you will get annoyed and you'll reassert the boundary again. And so the cycle continues. And so what we're really seeing happen is that, you know, there's a codependent energy in you which doesn't have the balls to enforce the boundary because you're scared that it will scare this person away, that they will run away. And the force that you're applying is just causing you to go round and round in circles, and it's not being addressed. So I want to clarify again, it is your responsibility to maintain boundaries, not theirs. You know, we can't trust other people to respect our boundaries. We have to respect our boundaries. And that means that no is a complete sentence. For example, if the boundary is, you know, it's not okay for you to speak to me like blah, blah, blah. When that happens, you need to follow through by pulling back and saying, well, I set that boundary, you know, you weren't able to uphold it yourself and treat me with kindness, so we can't be together. You know, instead, you keep trying to get them to change, trying to get them to see how they're behaving badly. You want them to understand. You want them to honor your boundary, but they have demonstrated to you time and time again that they cannot. And you can see here with the energies that they are bringing, you know, the Devil, the Knight of Wands in reverse, the Magician in reverse. This is real player energy. This is someone who is lost in the energy of addiction and chaos. You know, they're really obsessed with you. but they are also wildly unpredictable. They are deeply impulsive. They are very charming and charismatic, but don't necessarily apply those energies in meaningful ways. And they chop and change their mind with the wind. So, you know, this is a very unpredictable person that doesn't know who they are and doesn't really know what they want. They are looking for immediate satisfaction. I get a real big ADHD vibe with this, like they're always looking for the next dopamine hit. And, you know, when things get tired and comfortable, there's no dopamine reward there because it's boring and complacent and comfortable now. And so they do dip in and out of new relationships quite swiftly. You know, they're always looking for that next high. And the connecting energy is in the world, which suggests to me this connection has come to abrupt close, at least for the time being. You've probably told them to get lost. Because, you know, they're just not playing ball. But I just feel like they win you over every time because they are so playful and so charismatic and so funny, and they know how to charm you. They know how to get on your good side. And look, even in closing things out, I'm noticing how happy this lady looks. You know, she's got this big smile on her face. There's something really playful about it. I feel like you're just frustrated because you see all of the potential in this person. You see that they have a pure heart. You see that they can be so much fun, and you just wish they could get serious and start playing in a fair way. And I want to say that you play a little bit as well without even realizing it. You know, your maneuvering in this connection is also very strategic. And I don't think you acknowledge that to yourself, but playing it cool, blocking them. You know, these are all control tactics that are designed to yield a certain reaction, making them jealous, for example. And I think you kind of lean into that energy as well, which is why we're seeing that reversed Queen of Swords and those shadow aspects interfering. And so, you know, if we're really honest, and you have to be honest with yourself about your role, what we're seeing here is two people that are both bringing their own individual trauma and dysfunction into this connection. There is a very real chemistry between you. And I don't doubt that this person, you know, that they genuinely do feel that. And we can see this here in the feelings that are coming up. But, you know, whereas your feelings are very committed, 10 of Pentacles is all about, let's make this happen. You know, 10 of Pentacles is about creating a materially stable foundation, such as commitment, moving in together, being more serious, making things more regular. And so even though you may have closed things out for the time being, you've actually closed things out with the intention of hoping they will come back and chase you. And so you're kind of stuck in this dynamic of excitement and anticipation. And I think both of you are quite addicted to those highs and lows. And you've probably had lots of other relationships that show a similar thing. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. And even though we don't realize it at a subconscious level, there's a certain degree of excitement about that, which is why your person is really buzzing off it. You know, in a way, you love that chaser runner kind of dynamic. You may say that you don't and be very frustrated by it, but both of you are feeding off it, because when you block this person and they consequently chase you, it offers you some kind of validation. It offers you, oh, they do like me. And so it's very tempting for you to keep repeating that pattern of behavior, because you get that dopamine hit of and that validation of, oh yeah, they do like me, they are interested, look, they're going out of their way now to come back. And I really think they kind of like that. When you're not running away from them, they get bored very quickly and start sniffing around in other directions. And so you've quickly learned that this is one way to bring their attention back to you. It's not healthy though. And we can see here that with the Five of Pentacles is this very weighty energy of rejection and abandonment, feeling left out in the cold, that no matter how much you invest in this connection, they never quite live up to the ideal or their promises or their words. And I would say their promises have been very flimsy anyway. You know, I do get that to some degree this person's been fairly honest with you about their inability to commit, but we're seeing here that you just want a new beginning. You know, you want everything to be okay. The thing you yearn for more than anything is just a stable connection that feels safe and secure to you. In terms of feelings from them, We've got a lot of dysfunction here again. For one, we've got the Hanged Man. So that's really interesting, because I want to say their perspective of you is very different to how they perceive other connections, you know, and this is what they kind of like about you. Through their connection to you, they're able to see the world through a different lens, through a loving lens. And I don't think they've ever met anyone quite like you. And they're definitely fascinated by how you challenge them to see their worldview in new ways. They're very inspired by you, and they do find you just as fun and charismatic and intriguing as you do them. The Seven of Pentacles is actually a wonderful energy to show up for feelings, because it's about investment and grounding the energy. However, this is very, very slow moving. It's often associated with the energy of frustration and impatience, because there's an awareness that the Seven of Pentacles is a long haul investment. The day you plant the seed is not the day you pick your fruit. There's a whole load of waiting and nurturing that has to happen in those in-between times before it comes to fruition. And so, you know, I don't think they have any plans of removing themselves completely from the connection, but neither do they have any plans to commit in the way that you want to now. They're simply not ready for it. And I think in their head, they're kind of thinking, well, you know, I have other stuff to do right now, but I can explore this connection later. You know, I think they feel very confident in the idea that you will always be part of their life and that there's a meaningful connection between you, but they are simply not ready to realize it at this stage. And we can see with the Four of Wands in reverse that they're going to resist moving in and taking this relationship to the next level. They are not ready to pin it down in that way. But the Ace of Swords as a connecting energy is so beautiful here, because it's the energy of truth, the energy of rightness and authenticity. It's the energy of whatever I'm feeling, and however distorted that is at times, there's something so right and real about what's happening here. I really think there's a powerful soul recognition between you both. Deep energies. Okay. In terms of where it's shifting to, now for you, we've got the Page of Cups in reverse here. Now, remember, we started with a page. Again, pages are about messages, communication and interaction. The Page of Swords represents the mental body, but the Page of Cups represents the emotional body, and in the upright position is usually connected to the energy of, how to explain this? It's crush energy, it's new relationship energy. And the fact that it's distorted or real dignified or reversed, so to speak, you know, means that in terms of what's shifting to you is the same attachment to this cycle or pattern that has existed between you already, the on-off energy. And so, you know, when we see reversals or unwanted energies in the future line up, we have a unique opportunity to adjust course. Nothing is fixed in stone. We are co-creating our future every day in every way. We're contributing to that with free will choices and the energy we choose to show up in. So you need to recognize this as a caution. You know, the universe is saying, you know, you need to take those rose-tinted glasses off. And you need to be really honest about what's in your heart and about what's happening here. We do see you not playing the games in the same way. And we do see an awakening process for both of you. Judgment is in the upright position for both of you. And so it's really important at this stage that you're being asked to close out that cycle of, I want to say, immature perspective of connections. You know, you need to look at what the depths. You can't fall in love with someone because of their potential. Well, you can, but you shouldn't, I think is the message here. You know, you have to be real about what you deserve and what you're worth and what's actually being offered to you. You know, when we fall in love with someone and pursue a relationship on the grounds that, well, they may change and I can convince this person to, you know, uphold all the attributes that I want them to, then you're on very dangerous territory, because you're relying on them following through and you have no power over that. This is why it's so important that when we get into new relationships, we're judging the person on how they're showing up in the present, not on the potential for how they could show up if they adjusted course. And I don't see that this person's capable of adjusting course right now. We see with the Fool in reverse that they are not ready for that new beginning. And so we definitely see you here closing out that inner child wound that, you know, attaches you to a potential mother or father figure type relationship that's filling the hole in the inner child wounded experience. But we're seeing you stopping playing games. We are seeing you transform that cycle and waking up to the bigger picture. And I feel like both of you are, you know, fairly intuitive, and both of you are moving towards a period of intense transformation and awareness of your own intuition. I think with Six of Cups in your reverse, even though your person's perspectives have shifted to a degree, it's not shifted all the way around in a way that can allow them to recognize that there is a really deep soul connection here. They're unwilling to acknowledge that because that's scary to them. The permanence of that suggestion makes their player, unpredictable, impulsive, free spirit type energy panic. But we can see with all of these butterflies that they are navigating a deeply transformative process. They're just not being born out of the other side of it yet. And when the death card, transformation, is in reverse here as well, we can see that that cycle of transformation is in motion. Now, I don't think the tarot cards really look more than 2 to 3 months ahead, 6 months max at a push. So, you know, we're talking about the very near future here, with you both moving through this period of awakening, of self-reflection, of new awareness being brought into your own reality, and the transformation that ensues as a result of that. I can't see that this connection can be anything stable in the near future. And the universe is encouraging you to see it for what it is now, rather than trying to, rather than trying to make it something it isn't or can't yet be. It's kind of like you're looking at the architect's drawings, you're looking at the divine blueprint of this beautiful big castle that you can build in the sky, but you wouldn't buy a house for the full whack that wasn't fully built yet without those guarantees, right? And what this person is essentially offering you is, hey, look at my blueprints. I'm not built yet, and there's no guarantee of when I will be. This is my potential. I could look like this. I could be in this energy, but there's no guarantee of when that will happen. So you wouldn't buy a house on those terms, would you? You wouldn't stroll up to the house builder and say, well, this looks like my dream house. It's beautiful. I can't wait to live there. And they say, well, that's great. You can pay full price, but we don't know when it's going to be ready. It could be years. You'd be like, no, thanks. That sounds like a very poor investment of my time, energy, and money. Rightly so. And so this is what you're being encouraged to recognize here. You know, yes, they have this divine blueprint of potential. We all do. We're all born with that. We're all born pure. But how many of us will navigate our way there in a time frame that suits another relationship remains to be seen. You have to stop looking at people's blueprints and start looking at their actual build. You know, how many bricks have they laid? Is there a roof on that house? You know, is it safe? Is it secure? Is it comfortable? If it isn't, they're not ready for you. They're not ready to hold you. They're not ready to be with you. You deserve someone that is at least nearly built just like you are. You know, I'm hearing you're still putting a roof on it. You know, you're still making your own way there. And it's true that like attracts like. But whilst in some connections you help each other to build, there are many in which you both need to retreat and separate and work on building your own foundations. And I think you have yearned since childhood to have someone build with you. And this deep desire to create your own safe, secure home, foundation and family is born of the lack of it in your childhood experience. That's not to say you didn't have a family, but for some reason it didn't anchor you in the kind of security and stability that you yearn for. And so you've been looking for a partner ever since that can do that with you. And listen, that's a very natural thing. That's what most people do. But you are waking up to a deeper truth. You're waking up to your own power and potential. Now, when we turn all these reverse cards upright on your side, we have a very different energy. We have healthy boundaries. We have transformation that allows you to rebalance. And we have a clarity and authenticity which knows no bounds. Even when we turn your person's cards upright, they are no match for that. They are still in player impulsive energy. They're still in devil energy. You know, even when we turn the feelings upright and put the Four of Wands in the upright position, we still have this waiting energy of the Seven of Pentacles, this slow moving energy. This person at an intuitive level recognizes the timing is not right for them, that they need more time. So you are being challenged to accept things as they are, rather than trying to force them to be something that they aren't. So let's get some more cards for you. I'm going to get some oracle cards as well. We want some guidance. Which one should we go with first? Let's grab these. So this is the Sacred Light Oracle deck. Okay, so what's the guidance for you, Part 1? Okay, we've got Archangel Michael. Love him. He's all about protection. And we've got Crystal Kingdom. And for your person, Ascension Flame. And Divine Creation. And from the Goddess Power Oracle, we've got Keridwen, Potential, number 9. And we've got Bridget, Creative Spark. And from the Gods and Titans deck for your person, we've got Set, who represents the energy of chaos. And we've got Lu, who represents the energy of skill. Let's get some animal cards as well. Unfortunately, I don't know what deck is this is, because I can't find the box. I don't know where I've put it. But I'm pretty sure it's the same creators as the Mystic Mondays deck. Okay. We've got bee. And we've got rabbit. And for your person, we've got beaver. And we have seahorse. I love seahorse. It's one of my favourite spirit animals. And I'm going to get some cards from this little dinky deck here. This is the Universal Oracles deck. For you, we've got stability. And I think that's so important to you. That's what you strive for. And for them, we've got choice. Let's get some charms as well. And look at them, look how many there are. It's a much bigger bowl than what I used to have. Give them a really good toss around. I'm going to reach my hand in and just grab whatever's meant to be grabbed, I guess. Right, so we have got some new ones here. I'm not going to read this out loud. Here are all the F's I give. And there's a tombstone there. My apologies for the interruption from the puppy. I've just silenced her. Right. So the next one is Maths Student Tears. I've no idea how I'm going to read that one, but we'll figure it out when we get to it. The BS remover. It looks like a detergent bottle, doesn't it? Washing something. Shh. And we've got the Two of Swords. Whoop. This is Bob. Bob has no arms. Knock, knock. Who is it? It isn't Bob. I speak fluent sarcasm. That would explain why some of these more playful ones have come out for you. Serotonin Deficiency Club VIP members only. Actually, there's numbers on here and I feel guided to show them to you. Can we get this to focus? Get this to focus. There we go. Okay, so the numbers are 679-38001. Okay, so let's put that one over there as well. And then we have the White Rabbit, this energy of being late. Okay, so I'm going to start with what's on your side, Archangel Michael. This is about divine protection. The heart of a warrior is about synchronicity. And, you know, these two come up over this. Here are all the F's I give. And with that Queen of Swords in reverse energy, I really think that's the energy you're bringing. When this person slights you or doesn't commit or rejects you in some way or doesn't live up to the ideal that you are hoping for, you can get a little bit shirty. You know, this is the energy of, well, if you're not going to care, I'm going to show you how much harder I don't care. And I really think that, you know, again, you're cycling through this connection with that same triggered response every time, and you end things and then the person comes in and they humble pie and it starts up again. You're being guided to ask Archangel Michael for support with that. He is not just the archangel of protection, but also of divine influence. We can see here that there is an eagle that he's looking at. Let me bring this card forward. There's an eagle here in the sky, and there's a clock in the background with number 12 and number 1 and number 2 indicated. And then down here we see 1, 2, 3, and 4. So first of all, 12 is the Hangman, which showed up for him. 1 is the Magician. 2 is High Priestess. And then we have Empress and Emperor energy, divine feminine and masculine energy represented here as well. So we can see the cycle, and we can see that we're not ascending to the next level, which is number 5, the point of transformation. That's where you need to be going. And synchronicities, so they're obviously standing out for you. Pay attention to them. This is the universe trying to remind you the path that you're on. So I really feel you need to pay attention, draw in Archangel Michael in those moments when you see your resolve weakening. When you sense that I've set a boundary and I recognize I'm going to betray myself and not uphold it, invite Archangel Michael forward to create that divine protection around your heart and your resolve, and start working with Spirit to strengthen yourself, because Spirit has got your back. Math student tears. I feel like this is the way you align with critical thinking. So Queen of Swords is all about the mind, the mental body, the Page of Swords, and it leans into logical reason, awareness, rationalizing, instead of listening to the truth that's in the heart. And that's where that strategizing comes in, trying to control things through the application of constructive strategy and plans and a game plan, right? Well, if I do this, they'll do that. And if I do that, they'll do this. You know, that's mental focus. It's doing the sums, working out the equation, trying to get the algorithm right. You know, this connection needs to work on truth, and truth comes from the heart. It isn't rational. It isn't resolved through critical thinking or numbers or sums. It's about feelings. And I think when this person rejects you, you feel so vulnerable that you lean out of your feelings. I want to say you're both feisty people, and you both use humor and anger to conceal your true feelings and vulnerabilities. And I think BS remover is coming through for you to emphasize that you can't bullshit yourself. Energy doesn't lie. You know, you can keep hiding from yourself, but it's not going to go away. You need to be really honest with yourself about your feelings. When the Two of Swords comes up, that's also about ignoring our intuition and our emotions. You know, and that creates a state of indecision, which causes us to take egoic steps that are about control and strategy, as we've discussed earlier. But I really think humor and, you know, being sarky with each other is such a big part of what you two do. We've got Crystal Kingdom here, slowing down materialism and psychic debris. And so this is about recognizing, again, that you're focused on the material world. You're focused on what is rather than how you feel is what is leading you astray. Psychic debris is scattered energy. It's you not being aligned with the truth of who you are. And I think you're fairly new to the spiritual path. I think you still find it all a bit weird. What I'm hearing is I don't want to be one of those weirdos. You know, I really love what you do, Charlotte, but I don't want to be that weirdo. I'm not psychic, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. You know, there's a little bit of embarrassment around it, I think, for you. And also a lack of faith and trust that you can be spiritually connected. You know, you don't see yourself as psychically gifted, but you are. And so you need to lean into this. Crystals is a beautiful way to start. Crystal's Kingdom is suggested, and look at this card. she's pregnant. Now, that's not to say you're pregnant, it's not a literal, but she's cooking something, she's creating something within herself that she's going to birth into her reality. And I think this is what spiritualism is. It's literally drawing that beautiful light from within us and expressing it or giving birth to it so it can be born into our present. And this is what you're being encouraged to do. And I think, you know, working with crystals is a really nice way to get the ball rolling with that, to introduce yourself to it, because they're so fun. And I think they also meet your need for material presence with spiritual work. You know, you can feel crystals, they are literally there, unlike other psychic and spiritual practices. Maybe tarot and oracle cards will be great for you too, but you are a natural channel. But I think, you know, for the most part with these charms here and these upper cards, what you're really being drawn back to is your ability to preserve and protect self through that connection to source, which is guiding you from that deeper, more meaningful place, rather than you trying to work it out in your mental body, the mind, which is distorted by your fears and shadow aspects. We can see here as well with Keridwen potential and creative spark. Now, we talked a lot about potential at the beginning of this reading because we were talking about how you are always identifying with your person's potential rather than with the reality of who they currently are. Now, 9 is about the power of self. This is about looking for that potential within you. You know, rather than looking at them and thinking, oh, well, look who they could become, look who they could be. Can you redirect that energy at yourself and start fulfilling your own potential, building your own castle in the sky? You are a deeply creative and passionate person. And I don't think you're necessarily recognizing either your spiritual nature through that creative ability. You know, you don't perceive yourself as deeply spiritual, but creativity is spiritual. It comes from that place inside of us, that divine spark of inspiration that lives within. And this is something you have brought into your incarnations again and again and again. And it's all about returning to self and accessing that magical part of you. So you need to lean into that. And actually, I'm hearing that creativity for you is a very, very healing practice. It's what allows you to actually flow. So when we are channeling or doing any psychic work, we get in a state of flow. And when we are being creative or absorbed in an activity, we also get into that same flow energy. You know how you can get lost in doing something you love? It doesn't matter what it is. Perhaps you're it could even be playing a video game, gardening, or reading a book, or, you know, writing or drawing or playing music, whatever it is for you. And you can get lost in that and not realize how much time has passed. That's creative flow. Now, some of them are obviously more distracting and not as physical, and some are more meaningful than others. But the point is, we're all born with the natural ability to flow. Children do it intuitively. You don't have to tell a child to have fun and go and play. They know how to get in that flow and to absorb themselves in that rich inner world that we have. You've always been pretty good at it. You're just not seeing that as a spiritual practice, but that rich inner world that you have is part of the spiritual focus that you need to lean into. Now, we've got bee and rabbit here for you as well. These are such beautiful energies. For a start, bee is hive mind. It's about collective consciousness and working at a community root. And so I really feel like it would help you to find friends or associates that can actually understand the depths of the connection you're experiencing. Because I feel like a lot of the people around you aren't necessarily reading into the depths of this in the ways that you can. Because I think when you ask yourself, why am I still showing up here? You know, every person you ask advice for will say, you just need to dump this person's ass. They're not being fair to you, you know, they're not showing up. But I think we have to remember that we get magnetized back and drawn back for a reason, because there's a cycle of learning that is asking for our attention. And so we must be very cautious of people that are very deliberate about saying you must do this and you must do that, because at the end of the day you have to do what feels right in the moment. And there are no wrongs, there are no mistakes. You've got to guard against the idea of, well, I made that decision and it didn't work out how I wanted, so I must be wrong. That's simply not true. You know, it just means that there was a lesson there for you to learn, that there's value in that. And so I really think you need to embrace a community of people that are more on your conscious wavelength. And the rabbit is all about embracing your gentle side and allowing yourself to be more vulnerable, recognizing the nourishment and growth that is available to you there, and the stability that's available to you. You know, this is security, grounding, strength, and safety. Everything you've always longed for, and you're being guided towards creating that for yourself, to recognize the power you have to create it. Your person is just as divine and spiritual as you are. I feel like actually they're a bit more receptive to the woo-woo stuff than you are. You know, they probably, I'm hearing they might like hallucinogenics, or they've dabbled with mind enhancing and distorting substances, bit of ayahuasca and all that kind of thing. They are spiritually open, even if they're sometimes skeptical. They just don't practice spiritually, and they're not necessarily applying themselves to the lifestyle choices that would go hand in hand with that. But we've got ascension flame here. Liberation, great purpose, high expectations. And that really suggests a very twin flamey connection here. But there are other connections such as ascension partners or catalyst twins that also work alongside us to help us move forward. This person definitely has a spiritual flow in your life, and you are learning together. And we can see here with divine creation that their focus is about personal commitments and exploring who they are. And the fact that we've got serotonin deficiency club suggests to me that they also struggle with depression. And if they take drugs, you know, a lot of substances, remember we had the devil come up, which indicated addiction. A lot of substances, and the reason they feel so fun is because they artificially increase our levels of serotonin, which makes us feel euphoric and happy. And then when the drug wears off, our body hasn't been producing serotonin for a long time because, well, it's just had a massive dose of it through the drug. And so as the drug wears off, the body is depleted of serotonin, and that's why we get come downs. And I really feel like your person is swinging from one come down to another with no ability to regulate their own mood. And definitely this is why they're always looking for that high. We mentioned dopamining as well, but it could just as easily be serotonin. And they're funny. You know, we've got to speak fluent for sarcasm. There's a joke coming through here. And there's also this rushing energy of I'm late. I have to be somewhere else. There's things I've got to do. This person has so many dreams and ambitions and desires, and there's so much fun they still want to have. And I feel that distracts them, you know, from having a stable relationship. So you're also being asked to recognize that a lot of their running isn't entirely to do with you, but it's this adrenaline kind of fun seeking. I've got to go out and tick off everything on my lifelong bucket list, you know, before I can settle down. There may even be an age gap between you two here. So, you know, the guidance for them is to lean into their own spiritual beliefs as well. And also it looks like the same guidance for you, which was about recognizing your ability to communicate from your truth and your heart and to work things out from there rather than from your mind. I feel like they would also benefit from that, you know, to liberate themselves from that very limiting belief system that exists only in the mental body. We've got chaos and we've got skill. You know, chaos or set, it's not the energy we ideally want to see. But I think, remember, this is guidance. I'm guided that he's also wearing a mask and all of the armor that comes along with that. You know, that shows us how defensive, and I don't know why I keep saying he, my apologies. These readings aren't gender specific, it's just habit. But, you know, all of this armor and this mask, which is about concealing and defending and protecting the true self. And, you know, not feeling comfortable or safe enough showing up as they really are. There's definitely a suggestion here as well that the substance abuse or whatever their addictions are do create this degree of chaos in their life, and that they have to work at bringing that to balance themselves. I think you're so quick to offer healing, to offer suggestions, to offer guidance, and you're not necessarily recognizing that it's not something you can do for them. They have to develop this skill for themselves. I do think they are quite skilled. As I said, I feel like they have quite a lot of spiritual knowledge, even though they don't necessarily apply themselves spiritually. But you know, they have work to do. And I think this clashes with their free-flowing nature and this indecision that consequently exists between them. This desire to create stability, which is also mirrored in you, and to work and to make something of themselves, versus this desire to be completely free and just in search of the next serotonin hit or the next high or the next good time. Choices says here, decision, options, possibilities, and hesitation. And I just really feel like they are way more in that seahorse energy of being pulled along by the current, rather than the deliberate, persistent energy of Beaver, who is building his own dam and shoring up that security for the future. What your person wants and what they're actually capable of achieving at this time are two very different things. And I really think that that goes for you as well. So what's the bit in the middle? The guidance of the actual connection. Let's do that as well. And then we're going to take this over to the extended, where I want to dig deeper. Let's get the guidance. So we've got the Emperor in reverse. We've got the Two of Pentacles, which came up in reverse to you earlier. And we've got the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune, you know, we can see that the Torah is indicated there. I'm going to encourage you to look at the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life. I really feel that numerology and the connection to that will resonate deeply for you. You know, those are Hebrew teachings, but very relevant to spirituality and especially the tarot. The Emperor in reverse is distorted masculine energy. So, you know, the advice of the connection is to be mindful of how you're both trying to gain control. You know, you're both vying for that position of dominance and control and security in the connection, rather for the balance point and mutual respect in the middle. And that's just a trauma response to not feeling secure in relationships. It's not deliberate, it's an unconscious behavioral challenge that both of you face because you feel too vulnerable to just let go. But you know, this is what you are both transmuting and healing at this time. Change is coming. You know, we've seen that reference here, but the Two of Pentacles is reminding you that you have to consciously choose rebalancing, that you have to be aware of what it is that you're doing and to look to the higher power within yourself to lead that rather than the mind. The Wheel of Fortune, of course, is the wheel turning, and look how there's like this bridge, this pathway, you know, that leads up to it. And who knows where you're going to land on the wheel. You know, as guidance, this reminds you to expect the unexpected. It reminds you that the future is never set in stone and that you can spin that wheel as many times as you want. It's actually a very auspicious energy, and it's also about completion. But I think the overall guidance there is to remind you that you can go through the same cycles as many times as you want. It's only you that can consciously say, okay, I'm done with this cycle. You know, let's wrap this up and start a new one. And that's what's required here. So, you know, in summary and based off what we've seen, I'm going to remind you, they aren't ready to give you the stability and security you want. That doesn't undermine the depth of the connection that exists between you, but it does mean that right now, the kind of relationship you want probably can't be on the table. And so you can either keep banging your head against that brick wall, or you can choose something different. It's entirely up to you. But what we're seeing is repeating cycles. And what we're seeing is that you're being called to step out of that and transform and evolve in new directions, to focus on your potential rather than theirs. Now, in the extended reading, I want to go deeper into what's come before. I want to go deeper into thoughts and feelings for the now. And I want to go deeper into what could come next if you align with your highest timeline in this situation. So if you would like to join me over there, the link is in the description box down below. But thank you so much for joining me here. I appreciate you guys so much, and thank you so much for hitting the like button today, for hitting the subscribe button, and for watching the commercials and the adverts. I can't tell you how grateful I am for that. All of those things, all three of those things help my channel to grow, and that's what pays my bills. You know, it's the revenue I get from YouTube. So I really appreciate that you guys take the time to do that. It's such a beautiful energy exchange. Don't forget to check out my website, happysouls1111.com. You can book a personal reading with me, a twin flame connection check or healing or coaching. You can also find a ton of exciting classes, lots of new stuff coming up soon, and of course the crystal grid healing. So I will see you next time. Sending you lots of love. Take care. Bye. Hello, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading. You have chosen the Starseeker Tarot, the Sputnik Aragonite, and today we're asking what's really going on between you and them. This is a reading in which we look at the energies of both you and your person, and we're looking at how those energies are connecting as well. What are they adding up to, and where is this connection going, and how can you move through it for your highest good? We're going to get all the nitty-gritty details. We will be using the oracle cards, we'll be using the charm bowl, and we will also have an extended reading as usual. So if this resonates with you, you can always find the link to the extended in the description box below. But for this reading, we use 3 decks. I'm going to give them all a good shuffle. I do that off screen, but I know you guys like to see me do it on screen. And the deck you chose, the Starseeker Tarot, will be the deck that you use for your energies, pile 3. And the second deck, this is the Naked Heart Tarot. Let me just show you the box. This is the one we will be using for your person's energies. So give these a good shuffle as well. And whilst I'm shuffling, this is a really good time for you to take a nice long deep breath, hold the person you're inquiring about in mind, and just set intentions that you're ready and willing to receive the messages that you need the most. You can also ask the universe for a sign. A sign just really helps, I guess, you anchor faith. It's validating. It helps you recognize which messages to pay attention to. And I think it just really reassures us that the universe is listening. You know, spirit really does have our back. And when those signs pop up, it's just magical. I always ask for signs. I love it. A sign can be anything. It could be an object, something from nature, an animal, a name, a place, a series of numbers. Just trust whatever pops into your head first. And pay special attention to the messages that show up with your sign. For the connecting energies down the middle, we're using this cute dinky deck. This is Aunt Lily's tarot deck. Let's just give these a little shuffle. They're a bit stiff for ripple shuffling because they're so small, but we'll give it a go. Oh, there we go, not too bad. Okay, right, we're going to draw cards for you first, pile 3. So what energies are you presenting with in this connection? What energy are you showing up in, pile 3? Okay, 2 came out there. We're going to keep them. We've got the 2 of Wands in reverse and the 2 of Pentacles in reverse. So we're starting off with 2 2s. That's actually super interesting because this card, which I haven't shown you yet, is also number 2. This is the High Priestess. We'll read that card in a moment. Let's just lay these cards out first. And we've got the Hermit in reverse. Now, at the time of uploading, we are in the month of the Hermit. We're in Virgo energy at the moment, in September. Even if you're watching this at a later date, the Hermit energy is still significant. Right, what are the thoughts and feelings that you have for this connection and your person? 6 of Pentacles in reverse. The 8 of Swords. The 8 of Wands in reverse. And what's shifting for you regards this connection? Okay, we've got the Ace of Swords. We've got the 7 of Cups. And we have the 6 of Cups. Okay, if you can hear that lickety-lick-lick sound, that's my puppy having a nap and licking her butt while I'm reading. My apologies if she does make any noise during the reading. She's been very good, actually. Okay, what energies are your person showing up with? We've got the 3 of Cups in reverse. The Hanged Man. And the 8 of Pentacles. And how is your person thinking and feeling about you and the connection? We've got the 10 of Cups in reverse. 3 of Wands in reverse, the 2 3s in reverse, your person. And the King of Swords in reverse. And what's shifting for your person in this connection? Seven of Cups. Seven of Pentacles in reverse. And the Three of Pentacles. So 3 threes as that turned out. And for the connecting down energies down the middle. So for the energies you're showing up in, that's the Fool in reverse. The thoughts and feelings, the connecting energies, are the Moon in reverse. And for what's shifting, we've got the Lovers in reverse. Now, we will draw some more cards as we go, but we're going to start with what's on the table. Particularly with this card, this is the one you chose from the lineup. This is the High Priestess. It's a number 2 card. This is all about divine feminine power, magic, the connection to our intuitive body and our emotional self. This is all about reaching into that deep well of soul-based wisdom that we all have access to. The fact that this is the significator for your reading really suggests to me that there is a more intuitive connection between you and your person. I'm not deliberately doing twin flame or soulmate readings today, but it does feel like so far all the piles have pertained to that. I know a lot of my audience are on the twin flame journey anyway, but I really feel that with this particular pile, you guys are pretty new to this journey and you maybe haven't heard the term twin flames or soulmates. And I'm not saying that you're definitely dealing with that or not, because I think it's very hard to diagnose that from a general reading. This is going to go out to thousands of people and it may not apply to every individual. But I definitely feel there is a spiritual undercurrent in this relationship that you need to explore. And certainly at the very least, you are undergoing an ascension process or a period of awakening in your life, which may be new to you. When the Two of Wands and the Two of Pentacles comes up in reverse to demonstrate your energies, we're also seeing a time of confusion, a time of indecision, and also this palpable fear of being alone. And so I feel like you are divided in heart and mind at the moment, because you're someone that was raised with very firm boundaries. You're someone that has high expectations and standards in relationships, but it feels like you're getting to a stage in your life where you really do want to have a stable, committed relationship. And maybe it's not so much the case that you're releasing your grip on the standards or boundaries, just that you are confused that you have such a magnetic attraction to this person, even though they are perhaps not actually showing up and meeting or matching those standards and boundaries. And you're wondering why it feels that much easier to betray yourself regards them this time. You know, I'm hearing that normally you find it really easy to walk away from a relationship that isn't ticking your boxes, or from someone that isn't making the effort or meeting those standards and requirements you have. But even though this person isn't doing that, you seemingly cannot let go. And it feels like no matter how low you set the bar, they manage to roll right under it every time. And there's this really strong energy of frustration because you really like them. You feel this deep intuitive connection. You would probably argue you never felt this way before. And you're so frustrated that they're just not playing the game fairly. You're like, why can't you just be decent? Why, you know, we have this beautiful chemistry between us. We have such a good time together, but it seemingly never quite gets off the ground in the way you want it to. And I feel like this person flirts with you outrageously, but they're just not making the moves. For some of you, the relationship may not have even started yet. It's quite possible that you work with this person, and chances are that if the things haven't gotten off the ground, I'm hearing that they're a terrible flirt, you know, that the chemistry between you is obvious, but then just not taking action. And if you have been dating before, but it's kind of cooled off, I just feel like it was an on-off energy that just couldn't be maintained. And so you just have this situation where it's like, my God, you seem like the perfect person for me, but you're just not acting. You're just not showing up in the way I need you to. And again, your energy with this indecision, the Two of Wands, you know, when it's in reverse, it shows us that we're just not ready to actually step into decisive action. And the Two of Pentacles is a resistance towards change or a rebalancing of the energies that are occurring. And so this is where your standards and boundaries coming in. You know, you're compromising already and you're kind of thinking, well, how much more do I have to compromise before I completely just embarrass myself or let myself down for not having had firmer boundaries? I want to focus on the Hermit as well, because I do think this energy being in reverse is having an impact on how this person's responding. And well, you know, whatever energy we show up in is having an impact, no matter the nature of the connection. Our energy precedes us and it doesn't lie. It speaks much louder than words or actions. And I feel like you're the kind of person that plays it very cool in relationships. You're kind of showing them that perhaps you don't care as much as you really do. However, your energy tells a different story. The Hermit in reverse is someone that isn't really feeling the truth of that statement, because you do care. But I also think that at this stage in your life, you also don't want to be alone, and you don't like that. That makes you feel very vulnerable. You've always been happy on your own to a degree, but it feels like you're at a point in your life where feels like this looming pressure to actually move forward and have that kind of secure, stable relationship. And I just feel like all of that angst, all of that need is being communicated energetically, whether you like it or not. And this person also senses your hesitation. They may not at a conscious level, but subconsciously, they also feel quite vulnerable. I think they sense that you're not entirely certain about them. And I think they also sense that you're maybe, I don't want to use the word desperate because it sounds so harsh, but I think they know that you are looking for something more committed and that you're just being very guarded and perhaps not entirely honest about this I don't really give a crap approach. When the Three of Cups is in reverse, we see someone, you know, over on your person's side who isn't necessarily being a reliable communicator and isn't very reliable or consistent in arranging get-togethers, and they have a constantly shifting perspective, which means they're chopping and changing their mind about what they want and what's next. And I feel like you just can't be yourself around them. You know, you're quite a gregarious person, you're quite exuberant and bubbly in your personality type, but for some reason when you're around them, it's almost like you feel frozen or limited, and you've never felt that way before. And again, that frustration comes through. You may work with this person, but I'm hearing for some of you that this person works away, and that means that regular communication or get-togethers is also challenged. They are showing up in an energy of not really, I want to say, wearing their heart on their sleeve and making it clear where you stand. And, you know, in those situations, it's really tough because I feel like you being a traditionalist really wants them to be the person that steps up and says, hey, where's this going? Where do we stand? What are we doing here? You know, are we going to move this forward? And it just strikes me that they have been religiously uncommitted and reluctant to actually do that themselves. And so it does feel like a bit of a standoff with two people kind of tiptoeing around each other, no one actually making a decision or bringing that conversation to the open. And with the Fool coming up in reverse here, this is indicative to me of that new stable beginning simply not getting off the ground. Two people that are perhaps deep down afraid to be vulnerable, to open up and to suggest commitment. It's a leap of faith, isn't it? And I think you've both been burned in previous relationships. Maybe you've both lived alone for a period of time as well and gotten comfortable with that. And so the idea of a new relationship just feels very risky. And it feels like because there's no communication about the truth of what you're both feeling in your hearts, you know, there's just this kind of wobbling energy, which makes both of you feel even more vulnerable than before. And we can see that more so when we look at feelings, especially with the connecting energies of the Moon in reverse, which is about not trusting and being fearful. On your side of the fence, Par 1, we see the Six of Pentacles in reverse, again, emphasizing that frustration that this person isn't showing up in the way that you want them to. They're not being as reciprocal as you would like, and you don't like to be the person that makes the first move. So you're kind of always waiting on them. You eventually get impatient and will maybe tentatively, you know, throw the dog a bone, hoping they pick it up and bring it back to you. And I just don't see that it happens that way every time. And so you remain frustrated, trying to keep the energy moving, but this person isn't really assisting with it. We can see with the Eight of Swords as well, that you've been telling yourself a lot of stories. You know, the Eight of Swords is about entrapment of the mind. Take a look at this card. You know, this person, they're surrounded by these swords which feel prison-like, and she has a blindfold on even though her hands are free and she could release herself. But because she has the blindfold on, she's not recognizing that this hand is reaching out with a single sword, the sword of truth. And so this is all about how our thoughts, because swords represent the mental body, how our thoughts keep us stuck in certain patterns of belief, very limiting beliefs usually. So, you know, this is what happens when we assume things, or where we don't have the full picture of what's going on. We begin to create stories in our mind about what could actually be happening. So, you know, this might sound like, he obviously doesn't really like me, that person isn't really interested in me, they said that, but they must have meant this, and they're probably doing this, and they're probably doing that, and it probably won't work out because of blah, blah, blah. It's the what-ifing energy. And when we start to tell ourselves all of those stories, we can start to believe them. We have emotional reactions to them, and it exacerbates the fear, the insecurity, the vulnerability that we're already experiencing. This is a big problem for you, pile 3. You're very, very confused. We can see that with those reverse 2s. And yet at a deeper layer, your heart knows that there is something magical, magnetic, and special here. But because there's no evidence of that in your 3D reality, because your person isn't validating or affirming that, you simply cannot trust your own heart, and your mind is working in overdrive trying to convince you this is not safe because it's not following the traditional patterns of a secure connection, and it's just not moving quickly enough. The Eight of Wands in reverse is that palpable impatience that keeps coming through, that frustration, that desire to, you know, rush in and just move forward, that isn't coming to fruition for you. For your person, now, I know you may have gulped when you saw the Ten of Cups in reverse, but I want to reassure you that it's actually fantastic that this card is on the table. Yes, the energy is blocked, as is the Three of Cups, but when we turn these energies upright, we have a much more, you know, beautiful, balanced and loving energy. In the reverse position, it just shows us where the resistance is. Now, the Ten of Cups showing up for feelings, reverse or otherwise, is beautiful. But when it's in reverse, it does indicate the avoidance or resistance they have to intimate connection. And the Three of Wands in reverse, I'm going to interpret as them not feeling like fulfillment is something they have the potential to enjoy. The King of Swords in reverse very much mirrors this Eight of Swords energy that you have also been experiencing. The King of Swords in reverse is someone who's bitter, resentful, afraid, and anxious and stressed. Someone who's not seeing or thinking clearly, and who isn't discerning when it comes to really analyzing the truth of what's happening. They are just as stuck in their head as you are, and they are even more fearful. So whilst in their own little daydream, safe fantasy place, they love the idea of having a relationship with you. In fact, I would argue that they see you as someone that's absolutely the kind of stable, long-term relationship material that they would idealize and look for. However, the cynical part of them, the wounded, frightened part of them, doesn't necessarily allow them to embrace that. And as I said, Ten of Cups and Three of Wands in reverse, I'm hearing this is someone who simply doesn't believe that those wonderful, beautiful relationships can happen to someone like them, because they've been stuck in something before where it seemed really great to begin with, and it turned really toxic and very dark and really ate them alive when it broke down. So they are very, very nervous and apprehensive. And actually, I think you're both mirroring each other much more than you are likely to admit. You tiptoe around each other. You keep holding out these kind of little tentative olive branches and hoping the other bites. You can't help but gravitate towards one another, but you also both pull back because you're waiting for the other to give you something more and help you feel secure. And neither party is bold enough to do that. And so again, we have this fear of a new beginning, this fear of trusting your own feelings and what's happening. In terms of what's shifting, you know, the Ace of Swords is a beautiful energy. It's the energy of truth. It's that single sword that was being offered to you in the 8, finally, you know, being brought into your awareness. And so I think the lessons you're learning and the guidance around that path 3 is that even though it's understandable that we would try and preserve and protect ourselves by playing games, by having a strategy of playing it cool, by not revealing all our feelings or being too intense or heavy or coming on too strong, you know, all of those are the actions of someone that's trying to protect and preserve themselves. So there's nothing wrong with it. You know, it comes from a good place. It doesn't make you a player. It just makes you someone that's frightened. You're being asked if you can recognize that your person's approaching it with the same energy. They're not being a player. They're not deliberately trying to mess you around. They are just nervous like you are. But the goal when you're in that energy is to try and lean into authenticity, because love can only exist if we're willing to actually be bold enough to put it out there. And authenticity is about communicating your truth rather than communicating from the perspective of, does this yield the result I want? Is this going to yield a consequence I can cope with? You know, truth is about speaking your truth. Authenticity is about being who you are with integrity, rather than communicating or interacting from the perspective of what feels the least risky, the most safe, or the most productive according to your goals and objectives. And this is something that I think you struggle with, not just in romance, but in other friendships as well. You're not very good at being honest with friends and family when they've upset you or challenged you. You're the kind of person that will kind of keep things on the lowdown until you snap, and then it spills out from you in explosive ways. And so you're not just being challenged by this connection, but you're being challenged to lean into your heart and your intuitive self and to speak from that sacred part of you. The 7 of Cups is about allowing yourself to lean in to the optimistic worldview rather than the negative one. If you're going to tell yourself stories, please tell yourself nice ones, because there's no evidence that either one will be real or not. You know, when we're looking into the future, the reality is we just don't know. But what we do know is that we are co-creating the outcome every day in every way with our beliefs and our feelings and our expectations. And so, generally speaking, expecting good things yields good things. Expecting rotten things yields rotten things. And I know that's really hard because it requires us to bypass our fears. But I want you to really think of it from the perspective of you are telling yourself stories. Is there any evidence that what you are telling yourself is real? If there is no evidence, allow yourself to tell the better version of the story too, so that you can have a more balanced perspective. You can say, well, it could be that, and that looks scary, but it could also be this. You know, when we lean into the potential for optimism, that emboldens us to take those steps forward. And you have so many choices. You are a great catch. You know, I know you feel this unique chemistry with this person, but they are not the only person that I'm hearing is available to you. In fact, the 6 of Cups, in terms of what's shifting for you, is a soulmate energy. This is quite beautiful. And look, the 7 of Cups shows up here for them as well. And look how clouded their head is. You know, very different energies here. I mean, they're both quite shadowy, but one, at least, even though they're in the dark, can see the cups. The other is, you know, has this cloudy, low vibrational interference around them. And they also have the Seven of Pentacles in reverse, which is a reluctance to invest, even though they want to continue collaborating with you or moving things forward. Again, with the connecting energy of the Lovers in reverse, we see the potential for a relationship, but it's still blocked because of their resistance. So whilst you're opening up and being more communicative, more real, more honest, allowing yourself to be more optimistic, and these are the energies that, you know, are projected based on, I guess, your current awareness and where it's flowing to, you know, theirs are much more limited and still very, very, very hesitant. Now, I think it's worth looking closely at this Lovers card, at what's happening here. You can see that one person is elevated and one person is down below. One person is in the light and the other is down here in the shadows. And I really do think that this person has also put you on a bit of a pedestal. You know, there's this self-created thought form around, I'm not good enough for someone like that. Someone like that is eventually going to realize what I'm really like and they'll leave me. You know, they have a very low self-esteem because it was crushed in a prior toxic relationship. And so they've got all these kinds of false beliefs about themselves being a bad egg. And whilst I think certainly, you know, no one's perfect and we all have our weaknesses and shadow aspects, I think this person is incredibly harsh on themselves. I still think that if you can be patient enough to allow them to move at a pace that's comfortable for them, this is the kind of connection that will unfold really organically. You know, they will continue to warm to you, that will continue to break down barriers and to release fear. But certainly in the short term, I don't see that they are ready to offer something more committed or move this forward. They're still tentatively dipping their toes in. And I guess in that respect, it's up to you how much time you want to spend paddling in the shallows, waiting for things to get deeper. Certainly, I think the reassuring prospect here is that there is a soulmate connection in your future. Now, it's not clear if it's them. My gut feeling is based on what's shifting for them, but if it is them, it's not immediate, and that's why I think there may be somebody else that provides you with a, you know, an alternative route to take romance-wise. But, you know, I think you're being asked to first depersonalize their perceived rejection of you. They're not rejecting you, they're just afraid. You know, they're not rejecting you, they're just not ready to step into something committed and serious because they're still processing the pain of the past and reeling from how much that burned them. Now we're going to get some oracle cards as well. I'm going to start with the animal deck. Unfortunately, I don't know which animal deck this is because I can't find the box. I don't know what I've done with it. I'm pretty sure it's by the same creator as the Mystic Mondays deck, so that might help you find it online. So we're going to get some cards, animals for both of you. Okay, so for you we have unicorn, coral, and panda. I've never thought of a coral as an animal, but I guess it is sentient and conscious. How fascinating. Okay, hummingbird. It's beautiful energy. The scorpion. Interesting. And we have the bat. That's the second time a bat has showed up on the side of your person's energy. They had it there with the Hanged Man. Okay, from the Goddess Power Oracle, we've got Sophia, Divine Wisdom. I'm pretty sure that came out for one of the other piles as well, you know. And we've got Mart for Truth. That's interesting. And we have Freya, Radical Acceptance. And from the Gods and Titans deck, for your person, we've got Zeus, Leadership. This could be your boss, you know. I do feel a strong work connection with you two. Hypnos, Sleep. And I don't know how I say that. Biame, Beauty. Also, this has just been brought to my attention. When I said this might be your boss, and I'm looking again at that 3 of Wands in reverse, any of the threes can also indicate a love triangle, and a triangle is actually illustrated on this particular card. And so if that did pertain to, you know, them already being in another relationship, then certainly the 3 of Wands in reverse as feelings could be interpreted as someone that doesn't want to get tangled up in that love triangle. So I just thought that's, you know, that's an alternative view that I wanted to throw out there. Okay, what else am I going to get? I'm going to get some of these. This is the Sacred Light Oracle. Okay, we've got Light Body, Temple of Mary, and Ascension Flame. And for your person, ooh, okay, that one wanted to come out, didn't it? Angelic Realms, Light Seeker, and Dharma Wheel. Okay, and from the Universal Oracle deck, get some connecting energies down the middle. We've got Passion. So again, big chemistry between you guys. You both feel it. It's really strong. Perspective and Retreat. And I'm going to get some charms as well. Look at the size of my new charm bowl. There's so many in here. I've got tons of new ones. I'm going to give them a good shake up. A good mix. That one fell out, so we'll keep it. That's the Hermit Crab. I'm going to pop it down here. And I'm going to dig into the middle and grab a few from the bottom and see what we've got for you here. Okay. So the first one is everything will be okay. Beautifully reassuring message. We'll read these more deeply as we move through the reading. Mood, perpetual screaming. I love this one. I think it's really funny. I love this one too. That's Jesus. And he says, I saw that. Okay, so this is Daisy May from a game called Animal Crossing. She is a turnip seller. I don't know how I'm going to read that one, but I'm sure it will come to me when I do. We've got the Dead Battery. We've got Friends Don't Lie, a reference to Stranger Things. And we have got this beautiful ring. This was actually a gift to me from Madison from ASO Tarot. Bees are about community and collective, so that's a beautiful energy to come through. Okay, let's start with the cards though. Guidance for you, pile 3. So unicorn, coral and panda. I really don't know how to interpret coral. I've never had it come out as a card before. I don't know much about this as a species, but I'm thinking of the Great Barrier Reef and how precious it is, how rare it is, and probably one of the only things I know about coral. And bearing in mind that the universe communicates with us in symbols according to how we perceive that symbol. So for me, when I think of coral, I remember this story where a lady took a piece out of her fish tank and scrubbed it by hand, not realizing that it was still alive, and coral emits some kind of substance that is really dangerous, and she ended up with like crazy problems from the way this coral had attacked her for giving it a scrub. I don't know why that story, that's what's come into my head when I'm thinking of coral. But you know, I'm thinking of something that's very rare. It's very special. There's something very rigid and unyielding about coral, and it's also grounded or rooted in one place, which further emphasizes that. And of course, we've got this story that is popping into my head about how the coral reacts when something gets too close or disturbs it. And so I really think with the coral, that, you know, you're being reminded to flow a bit more, to be watchful of how rigid or unyielding you're being. Yes, we do have to have boundaries, and yes, we have to have standards, but I don't think that this person is deliberately ignoring your boundaries or standards. I think what you're being asked to consider, that if you are interested in them, It's just about patience and recognizing their limitations at this time. You are certainly not obliged to wait around for someone like that, and no one would blame you for wanting to find a partner that's just ready and willing. But it does feel like you feel a deeply intuitive and close connection to this person, and so you may decide it's worth the wait. More than anything, you're being asked to step into your own magic, your own power, to recognize the comfort that you can create for yourself. And I think with the unicorn, you know, of all the mythological creatures, it is the most fantastical and sensational. You know, we're all enamored by the idea of riding a unicorn. Horses are about freedom, but unicorns are about spiritual freedom. And there is so many bees and wasps coming in. I think this is a mason bee that's buzzing around, and a spider is just dangling over from above. Spiders are about work as well. Bees are about community. But coming back to the unicorn, I really feel like you are actually being asked to embody your own intuition and to recognize that this person having triggered that awareness in you is a gift in and of itself. For hummingbird, this is really beautiful because it's the energy of joy. I think this is really pointing out that this person can be the happy-go-lucky, fun, gregarious person that you do see glimpses of. They are just very bogged down and stressed with external circumstances. And as I said, they're still reeling from some kind of really tough relationship. That's either the breakdown of it or the breaking down of it in the present, for those of you that may have that potential love triangle going on. The Scorpion, now Scorpion energy is, it's really deep. It's the most mystical and intuitive of all. And this makes me think that your person feels into that chemistry and intuitive connection more than you actually believe they do. You know, they definitely have a big capacity for emotional and intuitive awareness. Scorpio is absolutely magical, but it also doesn't cope well with being slighted, burned, or hurt. Scorpio is traditionally a very vengeful energy. It can be very defensive, and it's very, very cautious. And so if this person's been hurt, you can understand why they're in this position of defense, preparing, you know, to lash out and be attacked, or put, you know, backing off and not trusting. They're also secretive. You know, they're not going to necessarily say, I feel a bit uncomfortable about this, I'm not sure about this, I feel insecure. They're going to keep you guessing. That mystery is actually very sexy. You know, that mean and moody, it's a real James Dean energy, you know, the rebel without a cause kind of vibe. So I do think there's a lot of passion here, there's a lot of sexiness and intensity, but there's also a lot of fear coming through. And the bat, that further demonstrates the intuition. We've had bat energy twice. You know, bats navigate by vibration and sound frequency. They don't use their eyes, they don't use their traditional senses. They are much more intuitive and are feeling in to all the nuanced and subtle energies that most other people cannot perceive. And so I really think that, as I said, they see your energy. They know you are more invested in them than you let on. You're playing it cool hasn't pulled the wool over their eyes. They know you are interested, and they like that. You must understand that it's safe for you to allow them to know. Step up the flirting, because they love that. You know, and they will flirt back. They might not move it to the next level, but flirting can be so nourishing and fun. And especially if you know, you're going to work, it makes the work day much more interesting to have those cheeky little flirts, you know, at moments throughout the day. But I really think that they, you know, they like it when you warm up a bit and you show them a bit of that flirty, naughty, cheeky side that there is to you. And because they're not moving things forward, you're leaning back from that, hoping they'll come forward and waiting for them to kind of make that move. But your flirting, you know, is definitely very welcome and appreciated. I think it helps them feel safer. And it can be as simple as a cheeky smile or a wink, you know, when you're passing them in the corridor or something. I really do think, especially with this passion coming through, that you're both being asked to lean in to that chemistry and that mutual attraction, to trust in it, to recognize it's there. You don't know how the relationship might evolve, but it's obvious that there is a deep attraction here, and you can both trust that and allow it to alleviate some of that fear. These cards are beautiful for you, and I think they really do emphasize and summarize the overall energies of the reading. You know, divine wisdom, truth, and radical acceptance. I really think this is what you're being asked to awaken to your own inner power, the wisdom of the ages. You've always been a very emotionally intelligent person. You're probably the friend that all of your buddies lean into for relationship advice. And you've always been recognized as someone that has integrity. And so you're talking about boundaries and standards with this person, but why are you compromising your own authenticity because of fear? You're doing the same as what they're doing. You know, allow yourself to step into truth. It's actually really liberating, because at least when we're truthful, we find out for real where we actually stand. And, you know, I think this person would really appreciate direct communication. And that's as simple as saying, things are really hotting up between us. When are you taking me for a drink? Or when are you taking me for dinner? How come you've not asked me yet, huh? When you're cheeky and direct about it and you say it with a giggle and a smile, it's going to really disarm them. And you might be surprised how honest they are. Now, if they're already in a relationship, that obviously massively complicates things. And I think that's where for some of you, your boundaries and standards are drawing that firm line. And certainly, you know, Spirit wouldn't encourage you to cross it if you don't feel comfortable with that. But assuming they're single, give yourself permission to be bold. You're really bold with people when you're not as invested or as attracted. You know, you need to really muster the courage to open the door for this person. You know, if they're afraid to knock because they're afraid of moving it forward, by applying a little bit of gentle and playful pressure, they may actually yield and say, do you know what? Because it's so irresistible to them, that passion and chemistry will magnetize them too. And it may get the better of their fears. And they'll think, well, I do feel a bit insecure and I'm not sure I'm ready for a relationship, but how can I resist this? This is so sexy. This is so playful and fun. Radical acceptance. Now, this is actually devil energy as well. It's 1 and 5. And I really think that this is about shadow aspects. It's about asking you to recognize that no single person is perfect. And when I say no single person, I don't mean single as in without a partner. I mean individual. No individual person is perfect. We all have a shadow aspect. We all express it differently. Some of us have harnessed power over it more than others. But ultimately, most people are really pure-hearted in truth and are striving to be the best version of themselves. Like attracts like. I think you two actually share similar wounds, similar perspectives, and similar way of dealing with things. It's not going to be identical, but it is going to be relatable. And I think radical acceptance is reminding you that love shouldn't always be conditional. Yes, you have to be safe. Yes, you want to find someone that overall helps you feel good and makes you feel good and safe in a relationship. But unconditional love means also, you know, seeing someone and loving them even though, like you, they have shadows and may not be perfect. And this is also radical acceptance of self and radical acceptance of your scenario and circumstances. That frustration, that impatience, that resistance to how things are and the desire to make them something else, that's all being a spanner in the works and is transferring in your energy. And, you know, it's doing nothing to alleviate the fear of this very insecure or fearful person. You know, when you're thinking about how you wish someone would show up, I think it's wise and prudent to challenge ourselves to, well, can I do that? Could I show up like that? And if the answer is no, to really sit with that and investigate why. You know, because it's a real double standard to expect a certain behavior or action or expression from one person and yet acknowledge within yourself that your own fears, insecurities or boundaries wouldn't allow you to offer the same energy. You know, so I think it's worth asking, is your frustration and impatience justified, or is it something that actually at a personal level you can understand and then therefore offer a bit more acceptance around? Remember, this is devil energy. The devil energy, however, is very transformative. It's number 1 and it's number 5. It's magical power. It's about harnessing the truth of our shadow in order to grow and expand and become our best selves and gravitate towards love. People often see the devil as a really dark energy. It isn't. It's just representative of that shadow within us, which if we acknowledge it and come into acceptance of it, we can grow with it. Your person has leadership. Again, I'm thinking boss relationship, perhaps you work with them. Sleep and beauty. Remember, these are coming up around feelings and that row. So I really feel that this person wants to lead, but sleep I'm taking quite literally as in the opposed of the awake, you know. So even though this person has that intuitive sense, they wouldn't necessarily consider it a woo-woo spiritual or psychic thing. And also I feel that this sleep is also referring to where maybe the desire for romance has laid dormant in them for such a long time, and it's kind of now being stirred awake, but that's again making them feel very vulnerable. Certainly they are completely overwhelmed by your beauty, but look at this card. It's so interesting. Now I don't know the story of Baim, assuming that's how you say this name, so I encourage you to Google it and find out more. But it looks, what's happening here is he's holding some kind of power, and look, he's got a mask over his face which is covering him up, protecting him. He's holding some power over what is a vulnerable young bird or a chick. And I think that beauty is also, you know, for me, that's symbolic of when something is beautiful and simple, I need to be shown to be the boss, to be the leader, to be strong, to be in control, to be dominant. That's a typical Scorpio perspective. It's distorted masculine energy. You know, it's a fragile ego that has to somehow maintain order and control. And so I think it's worth considering as well what I was saying about open the door. You know, if they haven't been bold enough to knock on it, open the door, because my gut feeling is they'll stride through it. But either way, you're both being asked to look at the bigger picture, to recognize that there is more going on beneath the surface than you're actually giving yourself permission to analyze. The personal guidance here is beautiful. For you, we have light body, Temple of Mary, and ascension flame. It says independence brings comfort, past restrictions, ancestral healing. Temple of Mary is emotional expressions, playful innocence and exploitation, and ascension flame is liberation, a sense of greater purpose, and high expectations. And so again, I really think this person was brought into your zone of awareness to help you tap into that intuition. There's definitely a soul connection there somewhere, but you're also being asked to lean into your own truth, your own energy. Independence brings comfort, recognizing that you have the answers within you, not allowing those past restrictions to hold you back, which is essentially what's annoying you about what they're doing. Again, recognizing that the shadow you see in them is probably in you too. Emotional expression, stepping into your truth, playfully so. You know, playful innocence is indicated here, exploiting that passionate, flirty chemistry that exists between you. And liberation, a sense of purpose and high expectations, again for me refers back to that spiritual path that's now opening up to you. They've got team effort, charity, validation, patience, light quest, visionary, mental strength, resilience, karmic lessons, peer pressure, and moral codes. So, you know, the Dharma wheel or karmic stuff is all about rebalancing. That further emphasizes that some of these people may be in a love triangle or have recently left a really challenging, traumatic relationship that has completely shifted their perspective of romance and love. So I really think, you know, the guidance then with team effort, charity, validation, and patience, you know, they're going to need a lot of that validation from you. They're not good you know, they tell themselves story too. Scorpio energy is traditionally notoriously paranoid because it suspects everybody. You know, it's very inquisitive, and so it looks at all possibilities and angles and has a tendency towards leaning into the negative or the pessimistic. So, you know, they're already challenged by that fear, and their experience has only intensified it. A light seeker with mental strength and resilience who also has their own light quest. You know, they are being awakened spiritually and intuitively as well. I think it's worth you considering that there may be a deeper, more meaningful soul connection here. retreat. Self-love, self-care, contemplation and rest. This is the most perfect advice for both of you. This reminds you that there is never any pressure or rush. Relationships aren't races and they don't operate on fixed timelines. You know, some people like to move along quickly simply because they can't cope with the uncertainty of what's happening, and desperately, because of some rejection or abandonment fear, just need things to be grounded and stabilized so they know where they stand. Others are quite happy to bob along happily, not knowing where they stand and just enjoying the moment. And I think the balance that's being suggested is somewhere in the middle, to take the time and space to retreat and contemplate and love yourself when you need it, but also to honor your true feelings. You don't have to cut this person out just because it can't happen now. You know, it's okay to be attracted to someone and also accept, but not now. Friends don't lie. Again, you're being nudged towards higher truth, even if there's not a deep and meaningful, intimate connection at the moment. You know, it's okay to be honest. And as I said, I think this person appreciates it. You know, you can easily, one thing I've noticed about attraction, and when you're communicating with someone that there's intense chemistry with, you feel it, you know when there's a flirt and interest there. Allow yourself to be emboldened by that, because when you are direct with that person, providing you do it playfully and with a smile on your face, and it's in no way passive aggressive, or you know, it's not designed to, I don't know, I guess passive aggressively reprimand them, you know, you can be quite honest. You know, I think most people will be super, super flattered, even if they're in a relationship, if you were like, wow, I wish I'd met you before you got married. You know, and a flirty little smile, that really helps that person trust that you are actually interested. You know, that feeling is reciprocal, and it doesn't hurt you to say it. Hermit crab. Now, of course, hermit energy is about going in. We had hermit card come up for you. And again, I think with hermit energy, this is about knowing when to withdraw, but also knowing when to come out of your shell. I do think you are fiercely independent, and you're kind of prone to, you know, hanging back a little bit too far sometimes in an effort to preserve yourself. When your battery is running low, it's okay to go back into the shell, but remember to recharge, and remember you have the power to do that. Now is a good time to lean into the spiritual community, to get answers, for understanding, to find like-minded souls that may understand at a deeper level what's happening. And you know, I love that this is the crystal ball, that reassurance that everything is going to be okay, regardless of what happens with this person or what doesn't happen. You're going to be all right. You're going to have that soulmate relationship at some point. You're going to have the love that your heart seeks. And mood, perpetual screaming. This is the frustration that we spoke about. You know, don't let it get the better of you. Don't let that rule you. Daisy May, the turnip seller. I really don't know how to interpret this one. I'm wondering if there's a weird Animal Crossing sync for you guys. She's actually a pig with a snotty nose as well. So I guess there's something there about releasing, and pigs are also symbolic of good fortune. I think overall as well, with Jesus saying, I saw that, this is a message that Spirit is always listening to your prayers, listening to your dreams and ambitions and goals, and you're being reminded that you can lean into them even if you can't hear or speak to your spiritual counsel and spirit guides. They're always listening, always supporting for you. I feel like you did get your signs today, and that's been, you know, that's provided you with that little flutter of a magical feeling of validation that, wow, it's real. You know, lean into that more. Allow yourself to open up to the spiritual signs and messages and synchronicities that are trying to reach you, because I think more than this relationship, Spirit is trying to open you up and show you that magic is real, and that there is so much of it to behold, you know, and that can bring you a different kind of happiness and purpose in your life. On that note, I really feel like you're working in a very mundane sector, which doesn't match the magic and creativity of your purpose and personality and power. And so maybe it's time to start flexing into that and really investigating it. I'm going to take this over to the extended. because I really want to know more about what's been going on between you. I want some clarity around this karma and the fears that are holding them back. I want some more practical guidance of how you can address that. And I want to look more at the divine or soulful nature of this connection and more about this soulmate energy and who that might be, whether it's this person or someone else. So if this has resonated for you, you can find the link for that down below. But thank you so much for joining me here. You guys are amazing. Thank you for your likes and your beautiful comments. Thank you for subscribing today. That means we're friends, and I'll see you next time. And thank you so much for the very special souls that take the time to watch the commercial adverts for my videos. That's what keeps my channel growing and going, and I appreciate it so very much that you guys take the time to do that. It's such a perfect energy exchange, so thank you so much. Don't forget to check out my website at happysouls1111.com. The links are down below. You can book a range of services with me there, including private readings, spirit release, crystal grid healing, twin flame connection checks, and a ton of classes and meditations that hopefully you will enjoy. I will see you next time. Lots of love. Bye. Hello, Powerful. Welcome to your reading. You have chosen the deck of Celestials and the beautiful double terminated fluorite point. I love fluorite so much. It's such a flowy energy. We're going to pop that card over there whilst we give these a shuffle. Today we are asking you and them what's really going on in this connection. This you and them reading is the one in which we look at the energies that both of you are introducing into the connection and what that adds up to. So we'll be looking at the energy you're bringing, how you're each thinking and feeling, and of course what's shifting and all of that vital guidance. We will be using the oracle cards as well as the tarot and the charm bowl. And I've got a ton of new charms, which is very exciting. So let's do this. Whilst I'm giving these a shuffle, it's a really good opportunity for you to feel in to the energies. Hold your person in mind, the person you're inquiring about. Gosh, these are such a dream to shuffle. Set the intention that you're ready and willing to receive the messages you want. Sorry, I got distracted there by just how wonderful this feels. It's so cool. I don't use this deck often enough. It really is a pleasure to handle. Okay, you can also ask the universe for a sign, pile 4. That just helps to validate the messages that are coming through and also reassure you that spirit really is listening. A sign can be anything at all. It could be an object, it could be a name, a place, something from nature, an animal. There's no right or wrong. Trust whatever pops into your head first. You can ask for more than one. Right, so this is the deck I'm using for your energies, part 4. But I used 3 decks in this reading. For your person, I'm going to be using this deck. This is the Naked Heart Tarot. So we're going to give those a shuffle as well. I do shuffle off screen, but I know you guys like to see me do it as well, so they get an extra good shuffle because I do it on screen as well. And riffle shuffling is a mathematically proven method of distributing the cards randomly. A lot of people get frustrated with tarot readings because sometimes they see a lot of reversals, but I ask you to consider that, reversals aren't necessarily negative. You don't need to worry about them. The cards are always shuffled properly. Right, connecting energies down the middle, we're using this deck. This is the Aunt Lily's Tarot. So this is for what the energies are adding up to. Give them a riffle shuffle as well. This deck's a bit stiff. I hope you guys are enjoying my crystal grid today. I spent a long time on this one because I've just got some new stock. But I love crystal grid so much. I've just launched a crystal grid healing service, so you can find it on my website if that appeals to you. But they work because the crystals are placed in sacred geometric patterns, which helps to distribute the energy through a portal or vortex, that's created by that sacred geometry. They are just magic. I do have a particular affinity with crystals. I can feel them. I know some people think that's woo-woo and weird, but I can. They tingle in my hands when I'm playing with them, setting them out, and I can feel the way the energy moves out of them. So if one was like, out of place like that, I'd notice it and it would irritate me because it would be like a distortion in the way the energy was received. It's so hard to explain what I mean with that. Tell me in the comments if you understand. I really want to be understood. I've never met anyone that kind of feels something the same way. And you just want someone to be able to relate, don't you? Okay, let's start with your cards, pile 4. We're going to start with the energies that you are bringing to this connection. How are you showing up? We've got the 2 of Pentacles. And that's Strength in reverse. This is such a pretty deck. Very starseedy decks today. We have got the Fool. And what are your thoughts and feelings about this person at the moment? Okay, we've got the Five of Cups. That's sad, that's grief. I'm sending you a big warm hug. That indicates things are tough right now for you. Okay, and this is Justice in reverse. And finally, we have the Ace of Swords. God bless you. I'm already downloading your storyline pile 4, and I'm sending you the warmest hugs. Okay, what's shifting for you with this person? Okay, that's the Ten of Pentacles. The Devil in reverse. Sorry, the writing on these is really tiny. And the Four of Pentacles. And for your person, what energy are they showing up with? We've got the King of Swords in reverse. We've got the Three of Cups in reverse. It's so interesting. Very similar energies to what we pulled earlier for other piles. And the Page of Swords. Panther and Dolphin energy there. Oh, just knocked that one out. There we go. I told you I'm a bit OCD and anal about it. Right, how's your person thinking and feeling about the connection? We've got the Lovers. So that's beautiful. We've got the Five of Wands. And we've got the Nine of Swords in reverse. This is very heavy energy for you. I'm literally activating this, that it's sending the good vibes to you, pile 4. God bless you. Okay, what's shifting for them? Ace of Swords in reverse. So that came up for you over here. The Sun in reverse. So we've both got Leo energy. And the Hanged Man. And let's get the connecting energies down the middle. Three of Pentacles for how you're both showing up energetically, the thoughts and feelings. We've got the Page of Wands in reverse. And for what's coming next, we've got the Wheel of Fortune. Well, that's frustrating because that's a little bit ambiguous. Who knows where the wheel will land? Right, let's start with this card that you chose. This is the Queen of Pentacles, and it's only literally now I'm turning this over. I'm thinking, oh my God, that's so relevant to the cards that have come through. It's so cool. So the Queen of Pentacles is about stability. It's a very maternal, stable, comforting and nurturing energy, and it's practical. So this pertains to committed long-term relationships. And you know, Flora, as I said, is very flowy. I love that I get such a strong feminine energy about this. There's something very assertive about the way this lady is looking at the camera. Her chin is slightly raised. It looks like she's got her hands on her hips. You know, it's kind of, come at me, throw it at me, let's do this. You know, there's a very determined, practical energy about this, a desire to work things out. And this makes so much sense because I feel like you are in the midst of a really painful relationship breakdown. And this is a relationship that's been long term, it's been ongoing. And so it feels like you're fighting to salvage it in some way. And you may have already arrived at the conclusion that you can't, because we have, for feelings here on your side, that energy of grief. It's really heavy. But coming to the energy that you're bringing at the moment, so we've got the Two of Pentacles, which is about trying to readdress the balance. You know, I really feel that you are genuinely coming at this from a place of peace and equanimity. You genuinely want to work things out. It feels like there's an overall motivation to stabilize things because they used to be so good. And it just feels like you and your person have fallen into a pattern of toxic behavior, not even realizing it. You know, I think you're both having such a difficult time as individuals that you've been unable to support one another in this way that you normally would. And because you're both struggling as individuals and you're both frustrated that the other isn't supporting you with that, it's kind of culminated in this vicious toing and froing in terms of, it feels really competitive. You know, it feels like, oh, well, it's your turn to do that. And it's a lot of wrangling back and forward. And I definitely feel like you bear the burden of responsibility for most of it, because your person definitely feels even more disconnected. And you've just kind of drifted further and further away from each other. And the whole thing just feels very, very painful. And you're left questioning, how has this person that I fell madly in love with turned into this? And even though you're certainly not stooping to the same low vibration that they are, they're kind of asking the same thing. You know, both of you are, where did this go wrong? You know, what happened to those carefree days where we just got on so beautifully and everything seemed so easy? We can see that you want a new beginning because we've got the Fool here in the energy you're bringing. So I really do feel like you are putting your all into trying to resolve this and figure it out, you know, but with the Strength card in reverse, this is feeling that you have no power to do so. And also that your patience and your ability to empathize is fast running out, because this person simply isn't playing ball. They're not contributing the same force of effort that you are, and that really hurts you. You know, it hurts you that you feel misunderstood. It hurts you that they're seemingly not recognizing their role in it and how they can be accountable. It's just, oh, I just really, really feel for you. Now, Strength in reverse is also indicative of the inner beast, the part of us that rages, the part of us that roars when we are inflamed or in conflict or threatened. And so, you know, your usual purity of heart, your usual calm approach has kind of fallen by the wayside in the face of your anger. And you're now feeling that much more animalistic, kind of forceful, determined energy, which, you know, no one would blame you for feeling that way, but it definitely hasn't been productive. Your person, you know, the King of Swords is a really rough energy for them to be presenting to you. The King of Swords in reverse is verbally vicious. You know, this is someone who is arguing to win rather than arguing to understand, arguing to relate, to consider. You know, they're not interested at the moment. I don't think they know this consciously, by the way. I don't think it's deliberate, but they don't realize how inflammatory their communication is. They're not recognizing that it is in no way supporting the resolution of the difficulties you're having, but they are so angry. And I'm hearing that that anger, for the most part, is nothing to do with you. There are lots of external pressures for you two. I feel like you're both fairly entrepreneurial. You both have heavy responsibility. I want to say that there's a lot of family dysfunction in the background as well, which also leans in, and perhaps some clashes between families that you also bicker about. You know, I just feel that this person, and you may have recently had a child, so you may have a very young family, but this person is reliving a lot of inner child pain. The Page of Swords is the point of maturity communication wise that they are operating from, and let me tell you, this is preteen, you know, and someone that gets to this age and hasn't learned how to emotionally and fairly communicate, wasn't shown how to do it in the home. You know, they probably saw their parents arguing, bickering, and having very toxic interactions. And then they've probably left home at a young age, and they've never really had good role models around that, and that no one's ever actually made them accountable to the way they do communicate. So this is all new to them, and I know it's really hard because you're the one bearing the brunt of their vicious communication and that complete lack of consciousness around the impact of it. But I really don't think it's representative of who they are. They are simply going through a very, very late growth spurt. And remember, the Queen of Pentacles is mother energy as well. And a lot of people who have, particularly men, who are raised in environments with dysfunctional mothering, they have a deep subconscious fear and resentment towards their female partners later in life, because they're triggered in the same way, especially when that partner themselves becomes a mother. Because all of a sudden, when you become a mother, you step into a different kind of power. And a man who hasn't made peace, or even a woman who has the mother wound and hasn't made peace with that part of themselves, you know, is going to be very triggered by that. It's nothing really to do with you. It's just the resonance of your energy the experience they've had with their mother coming up for review, for expansion, so they can grow through it. So, you know, this person really isn't recognizing how dysfunctional they are, how wrong they are. They're not very good at seeing themselves as being wrong. And there's something here about loss of freedom. And this is why I think maybe a child has been brought into the situation, or more than one child, because, you know, they're reflecting and thinking there's nothing for me in my life. I work, I parent, I try and satisfy my partner who's furious with me all the time. And, you know, there's just no gratitude, there's no respite, there's no anything. They also feel very aggrieved, very lonely, very lost, and very stuck. So I think you're both feeling the pressure as well of having a young family. I think you're both feeling the pressure of intense responsibility. And I think the spark of love is alive enough that you both want to try, but it does feel like no matter how hard you try, things just aren't shifting for you. The connecting energy is the Three of Pentacles, and I think that really demonstrates the desire to collaborate and make this work. And look what we see here. We see two people approaching this stall with these scales and the pentacles about balancing. That's that number 2 that you got there, and then someone's serving them. I really feel like you're probably in couples therapy. You've gone to someone else to help find that balance and point of neutrality, someone that can at least give you both permission to speak in turn, rather than ended up shouting over each other and kind of losing your temper. So, you know, there is a real spark of love and commitment here, but I'm hearing it's never been more challenged. And your feelings, God bless you, the grief is palpable. You know, the 5 of Cups is really hard. And I think you two mirror each other in respect of they have a deep mother wound, you have a deep father wound. And so, you know, you're both grieving the loss and abandonment from the father-mother figure within your relationship and between yourselves. You know, them letting you down, you letting them down, it's triggering all of that inner child pain that's now being brought up for review and healing. We can see with you, there's a karmic cycle here connected to it as well. That's not to say that they are your karmic partner. I want you to remember that, you know, we have soul lessons with virtually every person we have significant relationships in our lifetime. There'll be some type of soul contract, an arrangement, you know, a project plan for what we're aiming for, what we're hoping to learn and achieve, and what roles each of us are going to play to allow that to happen. And, you know, those roles can be very varied. It's not just always fix this person's karmic or this person's this. Quite often, a soulmate will be a bundle of all of it. And I really think that with the Justice card in reverse, that the karma you're working out, even though this person's here to act as a mirror and help you fix it, that the karma actually exists in your ancestral lineage. It exists in the family unit. And you probably grew up thinking, I'm never going to be like my parents. And as a parent now yourself, you're operating from the perspective of, that's my primary goal. What kind of parent am I going to be? I'm not going to be like X, Y, Z. I'm not going to do X, Y, Z. You know what you don't want to be, but you weren't shown what you can be and how to be that energy. So you also put a lot of pressure on yourself to be a parent. And I think that pressure you put on yourself to be a good partner, to be a loving partner, has been diverted to parenting. And your person who's still operating from the perspective of a child, an abandoned child, is tremendously triggered, like you've turned away from them, like you're no longer important in their life. They probably couldn't articulate this in a conscious way. This is deeply subconscious. It's an inner child wound that exists outside the boundaries of their awareness. So, you know, you're kind of being asked, can you forgive this? Can you? And I think what's frustrating is that if you suggested this to them, they would possibly be able to intellectually acknowledge it without being able to feel it, because they are not in their heart. Okay, they're not always responsive and receptive to their emotional body, and it's feeling it as well as intellectually knowing it that actually allows us to transmute, reframe and rebalance the energy. And I think this is where your person struggles as well. They are not good at really deeply reflecting on their own feelings. And so, you know, the Ace of Swords, I think you see this truth. I think you're much more emotionally tuned in, and that you can kind of cut through the debris and the mess and the chaos and really get to the heart of the matter. But you're dealing with someone who can't. And I just feel this longing to just have them meet you on that bridge and to be able to share that intimacy so you can actually move into that you know, harmonious relationship that you both want. There is real love here. And we can see this with the lovers. You know, your person does love you. They care about you very, 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 very much. But right now you are in competition with each other. This is strategic. This is about both of you feeling entitled to get your needs met, both of you wanting the other person to be accountable and not seeing eye to eye even on how you want each other to show up. You know, a lot of disagreement on that. And I think your person has a tremendous amount of repressed tension. And I'm going to say, you know, in their defense, I really think they are on the edge. You know, and when I say on the edge, I mean of something serious, you know, breakdown, addiction, just depression, anxiety, stress, and all of the chaos that can culminate from those things. They are on the edge. I feel like they're kind of holding these energies at bay, but they're on the edge. You know, they are at risk of tipping over. And I think both of you just need to pull back and give one another a break for now. I mean, when we look at where things are shifting to in a minute, we can see some improvements, but in terms of immediate guidance, give each other a breather. Maybe, you know, it doesn't mean you don't have to stop living together, but maybe agree to a timetable of parenting for a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and start taking more time outside of the home. And in turn, you know, so it's equal and balanced, so that you can both get some breathing room from one another and some breathing room to really get a clearer perspective. Maybe even take a holiday each, you know, book a vacation each if that's financially viable to you. Both of you need some time and space to actually regroup as an individual before you can face one another with peace. You know, sometimes we have to recognize that the fury we're feeling is actually rooted in something completely nothing to do with us, with the connection. You know, it's to do with what's going on outside of us, and that rage is being expressed and projected within the connection. You know, with the Page of Wands here, we can see that neither one of you feels like you have the answers, the drive, the energy, or the stamina to keep going with this. And that's the saddest thing, because I know you both want to, but you just feel like it can't happen. Like it's got to the point where it feels it's impossible. I think you don't normally watch readings, and you were pulled to this today, and you needed to be here because you needed to hear it. You don't have to give up. This can be okay again. It's going to be hard, but it can be okay. When we look at what's shifting, Pile 4, you've got the 10 of Pentacles here. You know, that's the Queen of Pentacles dream energy. If the Queen of Pentacles is the ultimate mother and partner and parent, you know, the 10 of Pentacles is the fulfillment of that. It's the happy family, stable, secure unit in which everyone's safe, everyone feels good and balanced and grounded and harmonious. In terms of what's shifting for you, this is such a beautiful energy to come up for you. And, you know, even though we've got the Devil in reverse, that's releasing unhealthy attachment, you know, but you have to stand in awareness of it. You have to reflect on your own shadow aspects through this process as well, in order that that can happen. We've got the 4 of Pentacles, which is also holding on. So I know you feel like you can't get through it, but what's shifting suggests that you will get through this, and that you will find that peace and balance within it again. Your person is still in a very challenging place. They're not shifting with the same depth that you are. However, the Hanged Man is upright, and the Hanged Man is about shifting perspectives, finally being able to see things from the other side of the fence. Now, what I'm hearing about your person is that that's going to be a dramatic wake-up call for them. But the other side of that fence also induces more trauma and shadow within them. For example, they're going to feel guilty. They're going to feel ashamed. They're going to judge themselves so harshly. And do you know what? That proves to you that they are a decent human being, because this is symbolic of them suddenly becoming accountable to themselves, of going, oh my God, what have I been doing? my behavior hasn't been right, and now I'm recognizing the impact that's having on those I love. But they also have a tendency towards eating themselves alive with that, which is why they're so sensitive to acknowledging it. There's a lot of Cancerian energy here, even though it's not showing up as much as in the cards. I feel it. Cancerian energy, think of the crab, tough exterior, gooey center, snip, snip, really defensive. It's not going to hang around and wait to see if you attack. It's just going to pinch you. Cancerian energy feels everything so deeply that it avoids feeling at all. And it gets defensive because criticism and, accountability feels so harsh to them. It burns them inside. And so, there's a real protective need to avoid it, to defend themselves from it, to not acknowledge it, to hide from it. Once it connects with their heart center, it's almost like they eat themselves alive with it. So we can understand why they avoid it. So they are shifting perspectives. We do see them becoming accountable, but my fear for them is that this is going to tip them. If they were on the edge before, this is going to tip them into depression. It opens up a different can of worms, but relationship wise, it feels like one you can cope with, because we've finally broken the camel's back. We're finally now on the same page, with each person being accountable to their role in this connection and how that adds up and what it equates to in the middle. Your person isn't as good at acknowledging the truth as you are. You've got the Ace of Swords over here. You feel it, you cut through all the chaos, but they don't necessarily feel it. And as we described, they're also very resistant to it because it hurts them. So, the guidance here is to be slow and gentle with the truth. Sometimes if you've been trying to explain the same thing to someone for a long time and it's like banging your head against a brick wall, sometimes you have to ask yourself the question, am I explaining it in a way that person can receive? Now, we all speak different love languages, and we also hear and feel energy in different ways. That's to say, what might sound diplomatic and tactful and sensitive to one person may feel abrupt, abrasive, and hurtful to another, because we're all sensitive to varying degrees. And so sometimes if we're trying to get a message across and the other person just can't hear us, they just can't recognize what it is we're trying to say, it's worthwhile stepping back and asking yourself, is there a way I can communicate this better that this person can receive with the peace and love and good intentions that I mean? Because I think they feel so hurt by it that they often question your intention. They think you're digging at them. They think you're just trying to crush them, because it burns them so much. And them questioning your integrity opens another can of worms and create a whole new problem. So you go round in these circles of throwing mud at each other, and never getting anywhere. And so I really think that you are a much more powerful communicator than them. Now that you're aware of their sensitivities, can you find ways to communicate differently? And one thing that's coming through really strongly is little by little. Don't dump the whole thing on them at once. Don't share all of your grievances in one hit. It's too heavy. And maybe even set aside, that could be a brilliant exercise for you both. Once a week, you set aside 30 minutes, 15 minutes each. I'm going to share something that's important to me this week that I'd like you to hear. And I'd like you to think about and respond to me, give each other a few days to think about it. So you have a midweek check-in. How are you feeling about what I shared? How are you feeling about what I shared? And, you can set an agreement, a pact, that how you communicate that, maybe agree to write it down first. So that forces you to think about it, edit it, and read it back to yourself and really think about, how that communication is coming across. And also, be meaningful about deliberately not being harsh. We want to communicate this with as much kindness, love and gentility as possible. One grievance a week, one thing that's bothering me, and then we'll reconvene midweek to discuss how each of us are feeling about it, what our thoughts are about it, how we can move on from it. Sometimes creating time and space for these conversations actually helps them to move more smoothly, because when you say to someone, can we talk? That immediately introduces so much tension and fear into the situation. You know, the other person is thinking, oh God, what's coming? That's never a good thing. It's a really ominous state, and I need to talk to you. We need to talk. Can we talk? You know, it suggests that it's going to be long, it's going to be hard, you're going to clash. You know, if you have planned to do this once a week, we're going to sit down really calmly. We're going to share one thing. We're going to go reconvene midweek and talk again, and we're going to put a time limit on it. And if we haven't resolved it by midweek, you know, we can park it and set up another time to talk about it again, but we're managing it in, you know, in terms of time, in terms of what our output is like. We're setting boundaries around that, and we're giving each other space to process it rather than forcing ourselves to argue and try and reach an agreement or conclusion then. You know, you two just need to learn how to communicate in healthy ways. Your person can't handle all the truth at once. And again, with the sun in reverse, you've got a wounded inner child that doesn't know if they can ever be happy again. They are way more pessimistic than you. You know, you've always been the get up and go, the driven one, the punchy one, the optimistic one. You know, when they hit the deck, they hit the deck hard. And so I know that you're probably thinking, I don't want to have to manage this adult child being, you know, but that's really harsh. It's really judgmental. They have all of the power to be loving and pure and beautiful and strong and emotionally mature. They were deprived of that, and they're learning it now. And, you know, your souls have agreed to learn these lessons together. You're going through it as well. You know, I really think that you are also processing deep wounding through this experience. And you need to look at yourselves, focus on yourselves, and recognize that you can't change the other person. You can only be responsible for how you show up. The connecting energy here is the Wheel of Fortune. And as I said, that is a little bit ambiguous, because the Wheel of Fortune, who knows where it's going to land, but it is an energy of completion and a new beginning. You know, it is destiny kind of saying, okay, enough of that cycle, let's start a new one. It's a new chapter, so to speak. So at the very least, I hope that brings you some comfort to know that the challenge and the grief and the pain and the discomfort that you're feeling together now isn't going to last. It's going to transform into something new, something different. And perhaps that will still have its own challenges, but I feel like it's the challenge of working through it rather than the challenge of thinking we can't. But let's get some guidance cards to you as well. I'm going to use this animal deck. I don't know what it's called, I'm afraid. I know it's by the same creators as the Mystic Monday deck. I'm pretty sure it is anyway, but I've lost the box for it. I don't know where I've put it. It's walked away from me. Okay, so pile 4. Animal energies for you. We've got butterfly. We've got oyster. And we have tiger. And for your person, we've got wolf. We've got swan. And we have got rat. Oh, I just got all over body tingles with rat. I'm not even that familiar with the energy of rat, but that really kind of moved me. Right, Goddess Power Oracle for you, pile 4. Hestia. Look, that's about home. So appropriate, right? Mama Kocha, water. And Kali, liberation. And we're going to use the Gods and Titans deck for the person. We've got Thoth, wisdom. Achilles, confidence. We've got Helios, cycles. These are such big energies, like really big. Okay, from the Sacred Forest deck. Butterfly spirits, that's butterfly come through again for you. Daffodil fairy, new beginnings. And dragon power. And for your person, oh, lovely breeze coming through the window. We're having a heat wave in England at the moment. Very unexpected weather for us Brits. We're just not used to it. We don't have aircon, you know. Sweating my tits off here. I think that's also a very English saying. I don't know if Americans say that. I apologise, that was really vulgar. Right, reflecting pool, stillness. Toadstools, growth. And crystal cave, trust. And we're going to get some connecting energies down the middle from this deck. This is the Universal Oracles. Universal Oracle cards, I beg your pardon. I love these little dinky decks. Okay, we've got dreams. We've got healing. And we have got truth. And from the charm bowl, look at the size of it. I have a new charm bowl because I have so many new charms. They didn't fit in my old one. Right, so I'm going to turn these around and then grab some. They all fall out of that side bit. It's a bit annoying. Right, I'm going to dig into the bottom and just grab a few. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Right, we have the tape measure. We have how to enjoy the terrible truth. Isn't that fascinating? After we were talking about how hard it is for your person to receive truth, how to enjoy the terrible truth. Everything will be all right. And that's such a beautiful, reassuring message for you, Pile 4, given what's going on for you. We've got London that's emphasised. Don't know why. Maybe that's a trip you've been promising to take. Maybe you need a vacation together without kids. We've got the little cat in a bottle. It's an interesting one. I don't know how I'm going to read that. We have got a king. We have the word true in a heart, a wrapped heart, and we have the cactus. Okay, really interesting charms coming through for you. Beautiful guidance here. Let's get stuck in. So for the energies you're bringing, the guidance around that, we've got butterfly, oyster. I apologise for my puppy barking in the background. Who even knows what she's barking at? Hopefully she'll stop. I'll pause the video if she doesn't. But butterfly, oyster and tiger. Bear with me. Okay, I think I have silenced the puppy beast. Right, butterfly, oyster and tiger. Well, butterfly is about transformation. We know that this is important for you because it's come up a second time. And I'm pretty sure it was emphasized in one of the other cards I pulled. But butterfly, of course, is about metamorphosis. And I really think this is highlighting that in terms of the energy we're bringing to the equation, which ultimately adds up, you know, to how things pan out, and we can only each be responsible for our own bit, you're being reminded that your power to transform is great. You know, you are a chameleon anyway. You've always been the sort of person that kind of sheds skin and becomes someone new at the drop of a hat. I do believe you embrace and embody and love that kind of change. I think you find it really exciting to play around with your identity and shape your personality in meaningful and deliberate ways. And so you're being reminded that you do have the power, you know, to move through this with more peace and equanimity. And the oyster is reminding you of the treasure within, that when you take the time to go within and to focus on healing from there, that's when all that power will be unlocked. Hypnosis is really emphasized for you. Look for audio hypnosis and maybe learn about self-hypnosis, because that's how we can really start working with our trigger points, dysfunction, shadows at the root cause, and reprogramming healthier new behaviors in very quick and what's the word? Effortless ways. And I also think that your person will really respect your leading by example. You know, so if they are inclined to be like, well, it's just how I am, you know, well, you always want me to change. No, I'm sorry, that's really immature. You know, we are constantly growing. Any adult that says this is who I am, I'm not changing for anyone, it's not about changing for other people. It's about recognizing how we're always growing and learning and becoming better people. And an inability to recognize your own weaknesses and the impact that those shadow aspects and struggles are having on others is just selfish. And it's also very small-minded. So it's not an excuse to say, you know, I'm not changing for everyone, no one changes. That's not true. We're always changing. You know, when we're changing consciously and intentionally, and we're embracing that transformation as something beautiful, an opportunity to be reborn, an opportunity to become more than, you know, that's what's really beautiful. You have this power, you know, this tiger energy. I'm guided that you need to step into Ma Durga power. Look up Ma Durga, the Hindu goddess. She was the one that birthed Kali, who showed up for you here. It's interesting that we've got them both together. But Durga has all the tools and skills she needs to get the job done. You know, and this is what I'm seeing about you. I think you also have to remember that you are slightly ahead of the curve than your partner. You have more skills and knowledge at your disposal than them. You've done a lot of this work and self-healing and self-reflection and self-therapy and all the other stuff already. And if you were born into a female body, that's because your emotional self was nourished in a way that masculine energies aren't. So, you know, if you were in a relationship and your partner, let's say that you play the piano and your partner wants to learn, you know, you wouldn't mock them if you had to teach them piano. You wouldn't think, oh my God, what a loser, they've still not learned piano. I don't want to be with someone that hasn't learned that yet. You know, when we make it about the piano, which is something that's kind of irrelevant in our lives, we understand how obnoxious it is to resent someone for not having learned something, or to judge them for not having learned something. So you're being asked to recognize that your person is pure-hearted and loving, and they still are all the wonderful things they were when you met them, but they've got to a stage in their lives where they're required to show up with more emotional maturity, and they didn't learn that. More mature communication, they didn't learn that. You know, they haven't learned these things, but they can learn these things. You know, they can learn these things, and you have the capacity to step into that energy now, to embody it now, to lead by example, not by saying, look what I'm doing, look, you know, but just by embodying it. That will inspire them. You know, you don't even have to point it out to them. It's just leading by example, you know, illuminating the forward path. Lone wolf energy, you know, sometimes, okay, sorry, there's a story here that's dropping in. So I think your person, they're dealing with as well, because their own family life was so dysfunctional, they wanted something better for their own. You know, when they thought about having their own family, leaving the nest to create their own family, they had such grand ideas and ideals about it, and they haven't lived up to that. So remember that shame we spoke about that they're feeling, that disappointment, that regret, you know, the rose-tinted glasses falling off, the cynicism creeping in, you know, and also I think they just feel like they're on the outside. I think your family is probably more balanced and supportive of theirs as well. So it's almost like there's your family, your kids, and then them, you know, this kind of kid that no one likes on the outside, the kid that everyone's always angry with. They really do feel like that. I know it's irrational and it's not true, and that you respect them as a partner, but they feel like this kind of person on the outside that's isolated, alone, and different to everybody. And, you know, I think that needs to be acknowledged. I think it you know, these are topics that you can bring up in couples therapy even. I think they will be very resistant to it, I'm going to be honest, because it's so triggering, it's so sensitive, but it at least helps you understand where they're coming from. And a swan energy, again, the lone swan. A swan on its own is called a demi-swan. We had a demi-swan down here, a dark one. So swans mate for life. You know, when they show up in readings, they're about eternal love. But when one is on its own, and as I said, because single swans is so unusual, we actually call them half a swan when there's just one. You know, again, I think this further emphasizes how they feel like they are on the outside, you know, that they haven't got that secure, stable base. You being so upset with them, which you're entitled to be, and it's not your fault that they've reacted this way, but you coming at the whole thing from your position has made them feel terribly insecure. And so they're saying things to themselves like, you know, I'll never have a unit, I'm on the outside, I'm different to everyone else, I just don't know how to do this, you know, it's compounded their feelings of rejection that already existed within them from childhood. But, you know, with rat here, they are very discerning in many ways. They're very industrious, they are very intelligent, and they can fix things, and they have a desire to fix things. And that's what you need to inspire, the part of them that wants to make things work. And I also think this is a sort of person that does things great when it's their idea or that you need them to. I know it's a kind of toxic masculine trait. Oh, I want to be the hero, I want to be needed, I want to do, you know, I need to be seen, to be valued, and all of this. But actually, it's just, as I said, it's learning to speak one another's love languages. You know, there's nothing wrong with recognizing what your partner's sweet spot is. What makes them feel good? Why wouldn't you want to indulge in more of those behaviors? What makes them feel bad? Why wouldn't you want to avoid them? You know, you can argue and say, oh, we're such a big baby. You know, they shouldn't be upset about those things. That's so invalidating, you know, because as I said, some people are sensitive to certain things, some aren't. That's okay. You know, rather than invalidating other, well, you shouldn't feel like that. You shouldn't need that. I shouldn't have to do these things. I shouldn't have to say things like that. You know, if you love someone and you know how to hit their sweet spot, do it. If you love someone and you know what bothers them, don't do it. If you can help it, change takes time. And this is where, you know, you need to be, when you catch yourself crossing a boundary, you know, that you know is going to bother them. I'm really sorry. I can't believe I did that. I know, and I'm catching myself, I'm pulling myself up on it. I'm letting you know that I'm acknowledging, I'm aware I dropped the ball there. But I'm learning. Thank you for being patient with me, because it's important to me that I master this. I want to break this habit of responding in that way, because I know it bothers you. That diffuses tension and conflict immediately. Just own it. Both of you just need to start owning it. You know, the thing is, when we make promises in relationships and we show up and we say, yeah, no, okay, I'll never do that again. I will never speak to you like that again. You will never see me do blah, blah, blah again. But then we're not recognizing that a lot of those behaviors, reactions, and the ways we communicate is so hardwired that even despite our best intentions, change is really, really hard. Transformation is hard. Harder for some people. Some of us are real serious creatures of habit. So, you know, can you give each other permission to be growing and learning and transforming? Can you be gentle and understanding with one another as you navigate that? You know, rather than being impatient and frustrated and, you know, just injecting more tension into the situation. We've got home, water, and liberation for you here, pile 4. Home, Hestia, Mama Kocha, and Kali, along with Ma Durga. I really think it will help you to have these goddesses on your altar, in a prominent place, perhaps by your bed, somewhere where you can sit and invoke them and pray to them on the daily and ask for their help. Mama Kocha is the heart mother. She's the mother of the water world. You know, she's the mother of flow and the emotional body. Hestia is about home, balance, peace, equanimity, and the intuitive way in which we create and build that for ourselves. Kali, liberation, and Kali cuts through anything dark. She just destroys it. She is the destroyer. She is a fierce warrior. Anything that threatens to disturb the peace, you know, she's there before it can multiply, before it can become a bigger problem than it was in the beginning. She is a very, very powerful goddess. This is about nipping things in the bud. When, you know, now that, just bear in mind that awareness is the first step in change. It doesn't make the change happen. It's the spark of creation that gives birth to the potential for it. You know, we still have to do the work. So you have absorbed so much new awareness today, and that awareness is going to allow you to now consciously recognize points where you can transform and shift and choose something different. You know, this is what Kali will be really good at, because she's there. So the story of Kali is that she comes to destroy these awful evil energies, but they multiply the minute they touch the floor. The minute their blood touches the floor, they multiply and the problem becomes bigger. So this is why we often see Kali depicted with her tongue out, because what she does is, in lightning speed, she goes and licks up all the blood before the problem can manifest as an even bigger one. And between her and Durga, they resolve the problems that the fellas couldn't. You know, that's why they are divinely feminine and these powerful warriors. Such magical stories in Hindu mythology. But Kali is particularly powerful and fierce. Ma Durga has more of this Queen of Pentacles mother energy, but the pair of them combined with Mama Kocha, who's a shamanic South American goddess, and Hestia, who I think is Greek. I'm not familiar with Hestia, if I'm honest. You know, this is the family power here, the powerhouse of parent, partner, family, you know, homekeeper, you know, homemaker, that beautiful world of just creating harmonious space and love in which we can all be comfortable and safe. I know that's your ultimate goal, and you both want that. You know, when you both look to the future, you are both looking in the same directions. You have similar aspirations, you have similar values. This clash that's happening between you now is entirely because of the individual pressures you're facing and the healing that's occurring. And you know, dreams here, messages and dreams and visions. So pay attention to the transformative hints that show up for you. For your person, we've got Thoth for wisdom, Achilles for confidence, and Helios. I think Achilles for confidence is particularly useful because Achilles heel, of course, refers to our weakness, you know, our vulnerability. And I think all the things you loved about your person are still part of who they are. They are just moving through a cycle right now, which is challenging your perspective of them. And I think you're being asked to trust that they do have this soul deep wisdom that allows them to grow. It's just slower moving energy than what you're able to access. Again, for you, we've got transformation, new beginnings, and power. I think this summarizes so beautifully what we've read here for you. And for them, we've got stillness, growth, and trust. You know, what beautiful energies to be bringing in for you both. It's connected by the energy of truth, all perspectives in one. You know, that's about seeing the truth of one another, about aligning hearts and mind and finding that peace and harmony together. You know, stop measuring every interaction by what you can get from it and instead look for the true meaning within it. We've got that there, the true heartfelt intention. You second guess one another's intention, this prickly energy sabotages thing. Well, you're just saying that because blah, 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 blah. You know, that angry attack. Well, how do you know I'm saying that? And I've just realised I said this was a king. Hell no, this isn't a king. This is Freddie Mercury. This is Queen, isn't it? It's Freddie. I'm pretty sure it's Freddie. So I don't know what Queen or Freddie Mercury means to you, but I'm just hearing we are the champions. And I think this refers to that beautiful team spirit that, you know, existed between you. You two were such a good partners. You were the relationship that everyone else envied because you genuinely had one another's back and you had so much fun together. This is why I think a vacation may serve you. Come to London. You know, London is amazing. It's a very fun place to explore. There's something to do with London. I don't know what's there that you need, but that's a sign for you. And of course, we've got this how to enjoy the terrible truth, you know, and ask your person. That's a great question for relate. I've noticed that you are very sensitive and sometimes very harshly triggered by me pointing out things that are bothering me about your behavior or your conduct or your communication. What's the best way to approach that? What would feel the easiest for you to receive? Because I really want to get that right. I want us to be able to have those conversations without you, you know, hurting so much. That matters to me. You know, think how that communicates your care. You know, it shows such a great degree of love to say, look, you know, we have to have difficult conversations sometimes, but I want to do that in a way that feels okay to you. Can you help me learn to do that? You know, that's working together as a team. That's looking after each other and demonstrating love. And I know that you two know how to do this. It's going to be okay. Now, cats are about intuition. Water is about emotion, and we can see that this little cat is deep in it. He's got his little snorkel out. There's not much air there, and there's actually a plug on it inhibiting the amount of air that's coming through. So I would say the emotional intensity that you're both feeling right now of being in the deep with it is very purposeful and simply adds up to more healing and accelerates that healing potential for you both to embrace it, even though it's so challenging. I really hope this has been helpful. I'm going to take it over to the extended. I'm going to go deeper with this. I want to get some more practical guidance. I want to see more about what the future holds. I want to see more about the wounds that you're working through as an individual, because I do feel we've heavily focused on your persons. So if this has resonated for you and you want to join me over there, you can find the link in the description box below. But thank you so much for joining me here. I appreciate you guys so much. I'm sending you so much love and big warm hugs. I know you need them right now. I've set a special intention over my grid that you are getting some of those good and empowering vibes. Don't forget to check out my website. If you would like to book with me, you can have a private reading, spirit release therapy, a twin check, so many exciting stuff. You can find me at happysouls1111.com. And thank you so much for just being here, for hitting the like button, for subscribing, for your beautiful comments, and thank you for watching my adverts. It really does help my channel to grow. I appreciate it so much. So thank you for that. And thank you again for just being part of my community. Love you so much. I'll see you next time. Lots of love, powerful. Bye.